Hey, can I ask you something? Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up and for no reason at all, the heart just feels heavy? You look around, people are laughing, the world keeps moving, and yet inside you it feels like you're carrying a silent weight. Why does it happen, right? Why does the heart sometimes sink even when nothing big is wrong? It's kind of like walking in the rain without an umbrella. Everyone else seems fine, but you're getting soaked quietly. You can't explain it, but you just know. Today feels heavy, and it hurts more because you can't even point a finger at one reason. That's sadness. It arrives quietly, uninvited, but somehow takes over everything. And here's the thing, you're not alone. Every single human heart knows this feeling. Even in the time of the Buddha, people came to him with broken hearts, weighed down by grief or hopelessness. Sadness has been part of human life for as long as we've existed, but so has the wisdom to move through it. So, welcome to Wisdom Woven. This space is made for hearts like yours that sometimes feel too much. I know many of you watch our videos. Actually, thousands do, but only about 0.3% of you hit that subscribe button. If you're finding comfort here, if these words feel like they're speaking to you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's a small action, but it helps us keep bringing you more of this healing wisdom. Now, let's sit with sadness for a moment. In Buddhism, sadness is not seen as an enemy. It's not something you have to fight or push away. It's a teacher. When you're sad, your mind and heart are showing you something you may have ignored. Maybe loneliness, maybe loss, maybe the simple truth that life is uncertain. The Buddha taught that suffering, dukkha, is universal. It's the one thing that unites us all. But he didn't stop there. He also said suffering has a cause, and that cause can be understood. Think about that for a second. What if the pain you feel right now isn't a dead end, but a doorway? When you feel down, it can be easy to believe this is forever. But Buddhism gently reminds us, nothing lasts forever, not even this sadness. Just like the seasons change, just like the rain stops and the sun comes back, the storm inside you will also pass. And while it's here, instead of hating it, maybe you can listen to it. What is your sadness trying to say? Maybe it's asking you to rest. Maybe it's telling you to let go of something that's hurting. Or maybe it's simply reminding you, you're human, and humans feel deeply. So today, as you listen, don't try to run away from the heaviness. Hold it softly, like you'd hold a crying child. Be gentle with yourself, because in that gentleness, healing begins. And as this series unfolds, you'll see how Buddhist wisdom doesn't just talk about sadness. It shows you how to transform it into something lighter, something that doesn't crush you but shapes you. This is just the beginning. Stay with me. The journey has so much more waiting for you. Understanding the nature of sadness in Buddhism. My friend, sit with me for a while. Let us not rush into words. Let the silence breathe first, for even silence teaches when the heart is willing to listen. You see, sadness is like a shadow. It does not come because you invite it. It comes because there is light in you. Without light, no shadow exists. When you feel sadness, it is only showing that somewhere inside you, something precious has been touched. It is not a punishment. It is not proof that you are broken. It is simply a reflection of your human heart. A heart that feels deeply. Often when people feel sad, they think, why me? Why am I the one carrying this weight when others look so happy? But if you could see into the hearts of others, you would realize every single person has carried this same heaviness in some form. The Buddha himself saw this truth. He walked among kings and beggars, among mothers and children, and he noticed, No matter who they were, sadness touched them. Some tried to cover it with laughter. Some drowned it in noise. But in quiet moments it was always there. That is why he began his teaching with the first noble truth. Life, in its human form, carries suffering. It is not because you did something wrong. It is simply part of being alive. Imagine a river. Some days the river runs calm, reflecting the sky. On other days, the river is swollen with rain, and its waters are dark and restless. Your mind is the same. When sadness comes, it is like the rain that makes the river rise. But remember, the nature of water is to keep moving. It will not stay still forever. In the same way, sadness flows. It arrives, it stays for a time, then it moves on. The problem is that we often cling to it. We dip our hands into the water and try to hold it still, saying, "Why are you here? Don't leave or leave now." And the more we struggle, the heavier it feels. But if you let it flow, just watch it, you will see it passes on its own. I remember once, a student came to me with tears in his eyes. He said, "Master, I feel useless. I wake up and I don't want to rise from bed. Everything feels empty." I listened quietly and then I asked him, "Do you feel your breath still moves?" He nodded. "Do you see the tree outside the window?" He nodded again. "Then life has not abandoned you. You are breathing with the universe still. Even in sadness, you are alive, and being alive means you have a chance to see beyond this moment." Sometimes, we forget the simplest things. We forget that even sadness is proof we are still here, still feeling, still capable of change. In Buddhism, sadness is not an enemy to be destroyed. It is more like a teacher who comes with difficult lessons. It teaches us about impermanence, because no sadness lasts forever. It teaches us about compassion, because when you suffer, you understand how others feel too. And it teaches us about letting go, because clinging to what we cannot control only deepens our wounds. If you can see sadness in this way, as a teacher rather than a curse, then it slowly loses its power to harm you. But I must tell you, this understanding does not come in one day. Many people hear these words and say, "Yes, I understand." But when the next wave of sadness comes, they drown again. Understanding in the mind is easy, but living it in the heart is the real path. The Buddha always reminded his students that wisdom is not just hearing. It is practicing, over and over, until even in the middle of a storm you can smile softly and say, "Ah, this too is part of life." When sadness comes, try not to ask, "How do I make it go away?" Instead, sit with it, breathe with it, and gently ask, "What are you showing me?" Sometimes sadness shows you that you are missing love. Sometimes it shows you that you are too tired, running too fast. Sometimes it shows you that you need to let go of something you have been holding tightly. Do not be afraid of the answer. It is always leading you back to your own truth. There is a story told of a woman named Kisagami. She lost her only child, and in her grief she went to the Buddha, begging him to bring the child back. The Buddha did not lecture her about impermanence. He did not give her a long sermon. Instead, he asked her to bring him a mustard seed from a household where no one had ever died. She went door to door, and every family said the same thing. "Yes, we have mustard seed, but we have also lost someone we loved." Slowly, she realized she was not alone. Every heart knows grief. Every home has known loss. That realization did not erase her sadness, but it transformed it. She was no longer drowning in the thought, "Why me?" Instead, she understood, "This is the way of life, and I walk it with everyone else." When you are sad, you may think nobody understands. But I tell you, Even those who smile beside you have carried their own storms. Sadness connects us. It humbles us. It softens the walls we build around our hearts. Without sadness, how would we ever truly feel the sweetness of joy when it comes? Without night, would the sunrise ever move us so deeply? So, my friend, the nature of sadness in Buddhism is not to run, not to fight, but to see clearly, to see that sadness is part of the great river of life, flowing through all beings. To see that you are not cursed, but human. To see that behind the dark clouds, the sky is still vast and open waiting. And to trust, with patience, that the storm will pass. Let your sadness teach you gentleness. Let it teach you to pause. Let it remind you of the preciousness of each breath. And when it feels too heavy, remember, you are never carrying it alone. All beings carry it with you, and in that shared truth, you are always held. The illusion of permanent pain. My dear friend, lean closer and listen as though I am whispering to your heart. There is something you need to know about the sadness you carry. Something most people forget in the middle of their suffering. The heaviness you feel, the pain that sometimes makes your chest tighten and your eyes turn wet. It feels so real, doesn't it? It feels like it will never leave, as if the ache is now part of your very bones. But here is the truth. Sadness tells you a lie. The lie is that it is permanent. Pain has a way of making itself look bigger than it really is. Think of a night sky. When clouds cover the moon, you might believe the moon has disappeared. You may even start doubting if it was ever there at all. But no matter how heavy the clouds, the moon is still shining behind them. In the same way, when sadness fills your heart, it hides the light of your joy, making you think the light is gone forever. But it isn't. The light is always there, waiting for the clouds to move. I remember a young monk who once came to me with trembling hands. He had lost someone he loved deeply, and the grief in his eyes was so strong I could feel it like a storm in the air. He said to me, "Master, this pain will never go. I will carry it for the rest of my life." I smiled softly and asked him to sit by the river with me. We watched the current together. After some time I said, "Do you see how the water moves? It never stays the same. Each moment new water passes by, and the river is always changing. Your pain is like this river. Right now it feels endless, but it too will flow and change." He did not believe me at once, but in silence he kept watching the water. Later, he told me that river became his teacher. Slowly, he began to see his grief not as a stone crushing him, but as water that would keep moving. This is what we forget when sadness comes. We believe it is a stone, hard fixed forever. But the Buddha reminded us everything in life is impermanent. Nothing stays exactly as it is, not even suffering. Even the sharpest grief softens over time. Even the darkest night gives way to morning. But when we are inside it, we lose sight of this truth and we think, "I will always feel this way." That thought is the heaviest part of sadness, heavier even than the sadness itself. You see, suffering is not only the pain we feel. Suffering is also the story we tell ourselves about the pain. The story might sound like this: "I will never be happy again. I am broken. Life is against me. Nobody understands." These thoughts are like adding extra stones to the weight you already carry. Without those stories, the pain is still there, yes, but it becomes lighter, easier to hold. If you can see the pain as something moving through you, not something that defines you, then already half the suffering dissolves. Imagine rain falling on a village. If you stand outside and let the rain touch you, you will be wet, but soon the sun will return and you will dry. But if you say, This rain will never end. I will drown here forever. Then you have doubled your suffering. The rain was only a moment, but your mind made it eternal. That is the illusion sadness creates. It makes a temporary storm look like an endless flood. I know it is not easy to remember this when you are hurting. The heart is tender, and pain can feel like a sharp thorn that will never leave your side. But if you sit quietly, if you breathe slowly, and if you whisper to yourself, "This is only passing through, like clouds in the sky," you will notice something shift inside you. A small space will open. That space is hope. That space is freedom. The Buddha used to say, "Just as the dawn follows the darkest night, so too joy follows sorrow." He did not mean that sadness will disappear completely and never return. He meant that sadness moves, it changes shape, and in that change there is always a chance for new light to enter. If you hold on to the belief that pain is forever, you close the door to that light. But if you can remind yourself of impermanence, even when the tears are still fresh, you begin to see a little glimmer through the cracks. Once, when I was younger, I lost a friend who walked beside me for many years. At first, I thought my heart would never heal. For months, every corner of the monastery reminded me of him, and sadness became my daily companion. But with time, I realized something. The sharp pain turned softer. The tears turned into memories, and the memories carried both joy and sorrow together. That is how grief transforms. It does not vanish, but it changes color. What once felt like blackness becomes a softer shade. And one day you find yourself smiling at the same memories that once brought you only tears. That smile is proof that sadness is not permanent. So, when your own heart feels heavy, try not to see it as forever. Say to yourself gently, "This too will move. This too will pass." Just like the river keeps flowing, just like the sky keeps changing, your sadness cannot stay fixed. Even if you do nothing, life itself is always moving you forward. Trust that. Trust that nature does not freeze in one season. Winter always gives way to spring. The illusion of permanent pain is strong, but it is only an illusion. You have walked through many storms before, have you not? Each time you thought, "This is the end, I cannot bear it." And yet here you are, breathing, listening, still alive. That means you already carry the strength to outlast sorrow. It means you are stronger than the illusion sadness tries to paint. Hold on, not to the sadness itself, but to the wisdom that sadness is never forever. Let yourself rest in that truth, and little by little, you will see how even the heaviest clouds eventually break open to show the sky again. And when that happens, you will not only know joy again, you will also know something deeper. That no feeling, no matter how strong, has the power to last forever. Only your awareness remains, watching it all come and go. This, my dear, is the gift hidden inside the illusion. When you see through it, sadness loses its power to chain you. You realize you are the sky, not the cloud. You are the river itself, not the passing storm. And in that knowing, even in the middle of sorrow, you find peace. The roots of emotional suffering. Come closer, my friend, and sit down as though we are sharing a quiet cup of tea together. The world outside is always rushing, full of noise and demands. But here, in this simple space, we can let the heart breathe. I want to speak to you about where sadness truly comes from. Many believe sadness comes only from events, like losing someone, or failing in something, or being left behind. But if you look more carefully, if you watch the heart closely the way the Buddha taught, you will see sadness does not come only from the outside. Its deepest roots lie within us, in the way we hold life, in the way we cling to things that are always changing. Think of a child holding a sandcastle at the beach. The child builds it carefully, shaping each tower with joy. But when the waves come and wash it away, the child cries. Why does he cry? Not because the waves are cruel, not because the sand refuses to stay in shape, but because he believed the castle should last longer than it can. That belief is the root of his sadness. In the same way, we build castles in our own hearts, dreams, attachments, people, identities, and we cry when the waves of time wash them away. The Buddha pointed to 3 poisons that often give birth to our suffering: craving, aversion, and ignorance. Craving means we want things to stay, or we want more than we have. Aversion means we push away what life naturally brings, the things we don't like, the moments we wish had never come. Ignorance means we forget the truth of impermanence, the truth that nothing can stay fixed. Put these 3 together, and you have the soil where sadness grows strong roots. Without them, sadness may still come, but it will be like a guest passing through, not a master that controls your whole house. I once spoke to a woman who had lost her husband. Her grief was raw, and she told me through her tears, "I cannot live without him." I did not tell her not to cry. Tears are natural, and they have their own healing wisdom. But gently I said, "It is not his absence alone that is crushing you, it is also the thought, 'I cannot live without him.'" Her suffering was doubled, not just by loss but by the mind's clinging to what could no longer be held. This is how roots of emotional pain dig deeper. They are not only about what happens, but about the stories we weave around what happens. Sometimes sadness comes from expectations. We expect life to give us what we want. We expect people to treat us the way we imagine. We expect our own body to always be strong and healthy. And when reality does not match our expectations, pain rises. It's like planting seeds in the soil and demanding flowers of your choosing to bloom overnight. But the earth does not follow your command. It follows its own rhythm. If you can see this, if you can let go of the idea that life owes you something, then you will suffer less. Another root of sadness is comparison. When you look at others and say, "They are happier than me, they have more than me, they are more loved than me," you plant seeds of sorrow in your heart. You forget that what you see in others is only a small part of their life. You see their smile but not their hidden tears, their success but not their secret doubts. The Buddha taught that envy is like drinking poison and waiting for another to fall. Comparison robs you of your own peace because it makes you blind to what you already have. And then there is attachment to identity. Many times we suffer because we cling to the idea of who we think we are or who we should be. When life shifts and we cannot be that person anymore, we feel lost. A man who loses his job might say, "I am nothing without my work." A woman who grows older might say, "I am no longer beautiful, so I am worthless." But these are only labels. Beneath them, you are still alive, still breathing, still part of the great web of life. It is our clinging to labels, not life itself, that makes us ache so deeply. Do you see, my friend? The roots of suffering are often hidden beneath the surface. On the outside, we say, "I am sad because of this event." But if we dig gently, we see, "I am sad because I wanted this event to be different. I wanted life to obey my wishes." Life itself is not cruel. It simply moves as it does, like the seasons. Spring does not ask your permission to turn into summer, and autumn does not wait for you to be ready before winter comes. The heart suffers because it resists this natural flow. But here is the gift. If the roots of suffering are inside, that means the possibility of healing is also inside. You do not have to change the whole world to find peace. You only need to change how you hold the world in your heart. You only need to loosen your grip, to see things as they are rather than as you demand them to be. When you stop clutching at the sandcastle, you can smile at its beauty while it lasts, and you can also smile when the waves take it away. I remember one evening, a young monk came to me angry with himself. He said, "Master, I try to meditate, but every time sadness rises, I want to push it away. And then I get more sad because I failed again." I told him, "You are not failing. You are simply fighting the river. Stop fighting. Sit by the river and watch it. See how it flows without your effort." Slowly, he learned that sadness itself is not the problem. It is the pushing and pulling, the craving and resisting, that cause the deepest pain. So, when sadness comes to you, look gently beneath it. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to? What story am I telling? What expectation am I holding? And then breathe. Even if you cannot release it fully in that moment, just seeing it clearly is already the first step of freedom. The Buddha called this insight, seeing things as they are. When you see clearly, you do not fall into ignorance. And when ignorance fades, the roots of suffering begin to loosen. The heart will always feel. That cannot be avoided. But whether those feelings bind you or free you depends on how deeply you understand their roots. If you mistake the shadow for the whole sky, you will always be afraid. But if you see the shadow as only passing, as only part of a greater picture, then even sadness becomes something you can hold without drowning. Let us remember, then, that sadness is not only what happens to us, it is also how we meet what happens. And when you learn to meet life without clinging, without resistance, without the blindness of thinking things can stay forever, you begin to see suffering dissolve. It does not mean life will be free of pain. It means you will no longer be chained by it. You will feel sadness like rain on your skin, real, but passing, leaving the air fresh and alive once more. This is the way of the heart, my dear one. To know the roots of sadness is to know that suffering is not your destiny. It is only a guest, and you are the host. You can welcome it, listen to it, and let it leave when its teaching is done. In this way, you live not as a prisoner of pain, but as one who understands the garden of the heart, knowing which roots to water and which roots to let go. Why resistance deepens sadness? Sit with me a moment, my friend, and let us talk quietly, heart to heart. Many people do not realize this, but sadness is not only about what happens to us. It is about how we meet it. When sadness comes, it is natural to feel upset, to want it to leave quickly, to wish that life would return to a way that feels safe and familiar. But here is the teaching that many overlook. The very act of resisting sadness, pushing it away, fighting it, denying it. This resistance is often what makes the pain heavier, what makes the heart ache longer, what ties the shadow of sorrow more tightly around you. Think about a river again. Imagine a small boat caught in the middle of a current. If the person in the boat struggles against the flow, thrashing and trying to row backward, what happens? The boat is battered, spinning in circles. The water seems stronger than ever. But if the person relaxes, aligns with the current, even partially, the boat moves forward with the river. It may not move exactly where they want, and the water may still feel rough, but the energy of the river is no longer purely an enemy. It becomes a guide. In the same way, resistance to sadness creates turbulence inside us. When we fight, when we push, we make the natural flow of our feelings more violent. I remember a student who often came to me with tears in his eyes, telling me he was trapped in sadness and could not escape it. He had lost a friend and kept telling himself, "I should not feel this. I have to move on. I must forget." And each time he tried, The sadness only tightened, like a vine wrapping around his heart. So I said to him, "Why do you fight the wind? Can the wind be defeated? Sit with it. Breathe with it. Watch it. Let it speak its truth." He was hesitant at first, afraid that if he allowed sadness to be present, it would swallow him entirely. But slowly, as he stopped fighting, he began to notice something miraculous. The heaviness softened. The vine loosened. By embracing the moment instead of resisting it, he learned that sadness can teach, can soften, can even guide. Resistance often comes from fear. Fear that if we feel, we will break. Fear that sadness is permanent. Fear that if we stop struggling, we are somehow weak. But the Buddha taught, all feelings arise and pass. None can last. Fear, however, keeps us clinging to old habits of avoidance. We distract ourselves with noise, with busyness, with seeking things outside to make us feel better. We push the sadness into hidden corners, and yet the shadow remains. Hiding it does not remove it. Only noticing, only gentle acceptance allows it to move and dissolve in its own time. There is a story of an old Zen master who noticed a young man trembling with grief after losing a beloved parent. The young man said, "I cannot bear this pain. It is too much." The master handed him a cup of tea and said, "Hold it tightly, and you will spill it. Hold it gently, and it will stay warm in your hand." The young man did not understand at first, but he sat quietly, and as he held the cup softly, he realized that the pain could also be held without being crushed by it. Resistance makes pain sharp and unyielding. Gentle attention makes it bearable, even transforming. Another form of resistance is judgment. When sadness rises, many people judge themselves. Why am I like this? I should be stronger. I should be happy. I should not feel this way. These judgments act like weights on top of the original pain. Imagine carrying a bag filled with stones, and then putting extra stones on top. The load grows heavier not because the event itself has changed, but because your mind insists it must be different. Letting go of judgment, even a little, is like removing those extra stones. Suddenly, the same sadness feels lighter, manageable, even understandable. Resistance can also come in the form of trying to control everything. People think, if I just plan better, if I just think positively, if I just do the right thing, sadness will go away. But life is not a machine to be fixed. Sadness is not a puzzle to solve. The Buddha taught mindfulness, being present with what is. Because reality moves in ways beyond our control. When we stop grasping for control and instead allow ourselves to witness the feeling, we often discover that it begins to shift on its own. Trying to control it only hardens it. Observing it with care softens it. I have seen many young monks in the monastery wrestle with their emotions. They meditate diligently, yet the first wave of sadness sends them spinning into despair. They try to analyze it, suppress it, or ignore it, and every time they resist, the sorrow feels like a tidal wave. But the monks who learn to simply be present with the sadness, to notice it, to breathe slowly, to whisper softly to themselves, "I am here. You are here. We are together in this moment." They find that what once seemed unbearable becomes a companion that teaches instead of tortures. Even the smallest gestures of acceptance can make a huge difference. To notice your own tears without shame, to allow a heavy sigh to escape, to let your body slump into the cushions or the grass without resistance. These are all ways of releasing the grip. Resistance is a tense muscle that holds the body and mind in knots. Acceptance relaxes that muscle, and in that relaxation, clarity and peace can seep in slowly, softly, like morning sunlight filtering through leaves. The root of resistance is often a desire to escape, a desire to avoid discomfort. But avoidance makes suffering last longer. The Buddha's teaching is clear. Pain is part of the journey. Feeling it, sitting with it, allowing it to move. These are the ways of freedom. Resistance tightens the chains. Acceptance loosens them. You do not need to understand everything at once. You only need to start noticing your resistance and, gently, let it soften. Even when sadness seems overwhelming, even when your heart feels broken in ways words cannot reach, remember this. You are not failing because you feel. You are not weak because you ache. You are human, and the human heart is capable of deep feelings precisely because it is capable of deep compassion and understanding. Resistance may make the pain seem eternal, but it is only temporary. And the temporary is all life asks of us to meet it with courage. So, when you feel sadness rising, pause. Breathe. Notice the tightness in your chest, the ache in your mind, the heaviness in your limbs. Do not push it away. Speak to it softly in your mind. I see you. I do not need to fight you. I do not need to fix you. You may be here, and I will be here with you. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is the path of the heart that the Buddha taught. To embrace what is, not what we wish it to be. Resistance, my friend, deepens sadness not because sadness is too strong, but because our own clinging adds layers to it. When you release the need to fight, when you allow the feelings to flow like a gentle stream instead of forcing them into a dam, you discover something remarkable. Sadness, while real, is no longer your enemy. It can teach. It can soften your heart. It can show you the depths of your own compassion, both for yourself and for others. And one day, when you look back at the storms of your heart, you may smile softly, not because the pain never existed, but because you learned the quiet power of presence, the quiet strength of letting go, the quiet freedom that comes when you stop resisting what is. Resistance makes the river roar. Acceptance lets it sing. And in that song, you will hear the gentle, eternal truth. All things move, all things change, and you, my dear friend, are always able to flow with them, embracing the flow of emotions. Come, my friend, sit with me for a while. Let us speak quietly, like the wind brushing softly through the bamboo. Emotions are strange companions, are they not? They arrive unannounced, sometimes gentle, sometimes stormy, and often we find ourselves trying to push them away or hold them too tightly. Sadness, in particular, has a way of sneaking in when we least expect it, wrapping around the heart like a vine, squeezing slowly until we forget there is any other feeling possible. And yet, the heart is vast. It can hold sorrow without being consumed if we learn to meet it without fear. I have walked many paths in my life, observing how people meet their feelings. Most carry sadness as if it were a weapon, trying to block it, to hide it, to deny it even exists. And in doing so, they add more weight to the burden, making it heavier than it truly is. Emotions, my dear one, are like water in a river. If you fight the current, it may toss you here and there. But if you learn to float with it, even partially, you find that the movement itself can carry you, teaching you balance and patience. I remember a young monk who came to me, his eyes heavy with tears. He said, "Master, I feel sadness every day, and it seems to have no end. I try to meditate. I try to think of joyful things, but the sadness follows me like a shadow. What should I do?" I looked at him and smiled softly, placing my hand on his shoulder. "Do you see the sky today?" I asked. He nodded. "Notice the clouds. They drift, they shift, they form shapes and then disappear. Sadness is like these clouds. It moves, it changes, and it does not define the sky itself. You are the sky, not the clouds. Embrace them, let them flow, and you will see your own clarity. Embracing emotions does not mean surrendering to them, nor does it mean giving them the power to control us. It means acknowledging their presence, seeing them clearly, and breathing with them. When sadness comes, let it speak. Listen to it as you would to a friend who has wandered into your home seeking shelter. Sit with it. Feel it in your body. Feel it in your chest, your throat, your stomach, and know that these sensations are only signals, not the essence of who you are. Many people believe that to feel sadness is weakness. They think strength lies in denial, in distraction, in pretending nothing is wrong. But I tell you, real strength is gentle. Real strength is tender. Real strength is to sit with your heart in its own storm and say softly, I see you. I accept you. You are welcome here for now. When you do this, you create a space where healing can begin, where emotions can move naturally rather than being trapped and fermented in the mind. There is a story of a young woman in the village who carried grief from many losses. She told me, Master, I have tried to push it away, tried to ignore it, but it only comes back stronger. I said to her, why do you push the river when it wants to flow? Let the river move. Let the sadness flow through you. Observe it, feel it, and allow it to wash over you like water over stones. At first she resisted, afraid that if she let it in, it would drown her. But slowly, day by day, she learned to allow herself to feel without clinging. She realized that sadness could exist without destroying her. It could teach her, refine her, make her heart more spacious. When we resist, emotions harden, they become rigid, and we suffer twice. Once from the original feeling, and again from the tension of resistance. But when we embrace, even partially, the tide begins to soften. Sadness may still sting, joy may still seem fleeting, but there is a lightness, a subtle relief, that comes from acceptance. This is not magic. It is simply the mind learning to stop wrestling with what cannot be controlled. Emotions are teachers, though their lessons are often disguised as pain. Each wave of sadness can show us where we cling too tightly, where our expectations are unrealistic, where our hearts are closed. If we sit quietly and ask, what is this trying to teach me? What am I holding that I can let go? We begin to see patterns, we begin to understand our own minds, and we begin to respond rather than react. This is the path of mindfulness, the path of wisdom, the path of a heart that knows both suffering and compassion. I have seen monks who, after years of practice, could sit in the heart of grief and smile softly, not because they were immune to sadness, but because they had learned to float with it, to meet it as an old friend who had come to remind them of their own depth. They felt it, they acknowledged it, and then they watched it leave when the time was right. This is the gentle power of embracing emotions. To recognize their presence without being consumed, to honor their message without being enslaved by their weight. Even simple moments can teach us this. When you are alone, and sadness rises like a quiet tide, do not push it away. Close your eyes. Breathe. Feel your chest expand and contract. Notice the thoughts that come and go. Notice the tightness in your stomach, the heaviness in your limbs, the echo of memories in your mind. And then whisper softly to yourself, I am here. You are here. We are together. There is profound healing in this gentle acknowledgement. The body itself carries emotions, and when we resist, the tension manifests there. Shoulders tighten, chest compresses, stomach knots. This is why practices like mindful breathing, gentle stretching, walking slowly, or even simply noticing the sensations of your body can release the tension that resistance creates. The body and mind are one, and when one softens, the other follows. Sadness does not arrive to punish us, nor does joy come to reward us. Both are teachers, both are messengers, both are signs of life flowing through us. When we learn to embrace the flow of emotions, we stop seeing them as enemies and begin to see them as companions. Even anger, even fear, even grief, when met with gentle attention, can transform into insight, compassion, and wisdom. There is a subtle truth in all this. The heart is like a garden. If you push weeds into the soil, if you fight them with anger or force, they grow stronger. But if you observe them, if you gently tend the garden, pulling weeds only when necessary, watering the flowers with care, the garden thrives. Embracing emotions is tending your inner garden, letting the soil breathe, letting the seeds grow naturally, allowing the sun and rain of experience to nurture both sorrow and joy. Do not fear sadness, my friend. It comes to show you the depth of your heart. It comes to remind you of your own humanity. And when you meet it with acceptance, when you allow it to flow rather than resist it, it begins to teach you patience, gentleness, and the subtle art of living with grace. The river of life moves on, carrying all emotions in its current. To float, to flow, to embrace. This is the heart's way of peace. Even if the storm of emotion seems overwhelming, even if tears fall endlessly, remember, embracing the flow does not mean you must hold on to the sadness forever. It means you allow it to move through, to teach, to soften, to leave when it is ready. And in that leaving, you are not empty. You are full of awareness, full of the gentle strength that comes from knowing you can meet life exactly as it is, without fear, without resistance, with a heart open wide to every passing wave. The path of embracing emotions is not quick, and it is not easy. But each moment you pause, each breath you take with awareness, each gentle acknowledgement of your feelings, you are practicing the art of presence. You are learning to float with the river instead of being crushed by its current. You are learning that sadness, while real, is only part of a larger, moving, living whole. And in this knowing, my dear friend, peace begins to grow quietly, steadily, like moss forming softly over stone, unhurried, enduring, tender. Understanding impermanence and letting go. Sit with me a little while, my friend, and let us speak quietly about something that touches every heart: impermanence. Life flows like a river, never stopping, never resting, and everything we hold dear moves with it. Often, we try to hold on to things as though they could stay the same forever. Moments, people, feelings, even the shape of our own hearts. And yet, the truth is simple. Nothing lasts. The leaves will fall, the seasons will turn, our laughter will fade, and our tears will dry. This is not a lesson meant to make you sad. It is a truth meant to set you free. Many people suffer because they resist this truth. They clutch at moments, whispering to themselves, "If I just hold tightly, maybe it will never leave me." But the harder we grip, the faster it slips through our fingers, like trying to hold water in your hands. The Buddha taught that suffering comes when we cling to what is naturally fleeting. Sadness, then, often arises not only from what changes, but from the stubborn wish that change would not happen at all. I remember a young man who came to the monastery, his eyes weary from longing. He had lost someone he loved deeply and said, "Master, I cannot live without her. Everything reminds me of her." I sat with him under the shade of the old cherry tree and said gently, "Do you see the blossoms falling from the branches? They do not fight the wind. They do not try to stay. They simply move with the season. And in their falling, they teach us the beauty of letting go." He listened quietly, tears slipping down his face, and for the first time, he felt a small lightness, the hint of relief that comes when the mind begins to understand impermanence. Everything in life is a guest, visiting only for a while. Feelings, people, possessions, even our own bodies, they are all temporary. To resist this is to resist life itself. To embrace it is to open a door to freedom. When sadness comes, we can remember that it is not permanent. It is a cloud passing across the sky of your heart. It may be thick and dark, but it will move on. If you cling to it, you make it heavier. If you allow it, you learn from it and let it teach without being bound. There is a practice in Zen, subtle yet profound, called mindful observation. When a feeling arises, sadness, longing, fear, simply notice it. Feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your mind, and say softly, "I see you. You are here, and that is okay." There is no need to push it away, no need to label it as bad or wrong. By observing, we create a space where change can occur naturally. This is the gentle art of letting go, not by force, but by understanding. People often fear letting go because they think it means losing something forever. But letting go does not erase memories. It does not diminish love. It does not undo connection. It simply means you are no longer chained by the illusion that you can hold life in your hands. The river flows regardless, and you may float with it or be dragged by it. Wisdom is learning to float. I once spoke to an elderly woman who had spent her life caring for others, always worried about what she might lose. She said, "Master, if I let go, will I be empty?" I smiled and replied, "No, dear one. Letting go is not emptiness. It is space. It is breathing room for life to move freely. In this space, new joy, new understanding, and new love can arrive without the weight of clinging." She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes, and for the first time in decades, she exhaled fully, as if a long-held burden had finally lifted. Attachment is subtle. We may not always notice it, yet it shapes much of our suffering. We attach to the way people should behave, to how the world should look, to how our lives should unfold. And when reality does not match these attachments, sadness blooms. To release attachment is not to be indifferent, but to accept what is, with grace and compassion. When you embrace impermanence, the tight grip loosens, and the heart can rest in the flow of life rather than resisting it. Even our thoughts about the future are attachments. We imagine what should be, what must happen, or what cannot be endured. These imagined scenarios often cause more suffering than the reality itself. Sitting quietly, breathing, and returning the mind to the present moment helps us to see impermanence as it is. Constant change, moving, alive, neither cruel nor kind, simply life itself. One afternoon, I watched a young monk struggle with anger and grief. He said, "I cannot forgive. I cannot forget." I guided him to a pond nearby. "Look at the water," I said. "See the ripples? You cannot keep them still, and yet the water remains. Your mind is like this pond. Let the ripples of sadness and anger move, but do not cling to them. Let them pass, and the pond, your heart, remains." He practiced this daily, and gradually, the weight on his chest lifted, not because the world had changed, but because his heart had learned to move with the world. Impermanence teaches humility. It teaches patience. It teaches kindness toward ourselves. We cannot control the tides of life, and no one can hold on to another's heart or time. To grasp tightly is to invite suffering. To release gently is to invite peace. The Buddha's wisdom is simple. Everything that arises will pass. If you can see this deeply, sadness becomes a teacher rather than a tyrant. The practice of letting go also requires courage. Fear whispers, if you release this, it will be gone forever. But what is truly lost when we let go is only the illusion that we could hold on to what was never meant to stay. Love, connection, memories. These are seeds planted in the heart, not possessions to clutch. Letting go allows these seeds to breathe, to grow in new forms, to bring nourishment in ways we cannot yet see. I have seen monks cry quietly, letting tears flow for hours, not because they suffered more than others, but because they had learned to allow feelings to move through, to honor impermanence without being trapped by it. Tears, sadness, even longing, are part of the river of life. When we let them move, we learn patience, gentleness, and trust in the natural unfolding of all things. Do not fear change, my friend. Do not fear endings, for endings are only beginnings in disguise. Do not fear sadness, for it too shall pass, leaving behind a heart more spacious, more tender, more awake. When you practice embracing impermanence, you discover a freedom you may never have imagined. The freedom to love fully, to feel deeply, and to rest lightly in the flow of life. Even when the heart is heavy, even when tears have carved rivers down your cheeks, remember, you are not alone. The world is always moving, the river always flowing, the sky always wide and open above. By seeing the impermanence of all things, by letting go gently, by embracing life as it is, the heart learns its own rhythm. And in this rhythm, sadness does not disappear, but it no longer rules. It dances lightly, like autumn leaves caught in a soft wind, teaching, moving, and ultimately freeing. The path of impermanence is not a denial of life. It is the deepest acknowledgement of it. To see clearly that nothing stays, to accept it fully, to let go with grace, is to touch the heart of freedom. And when we live this way, sadness becomes a companion, not a chain. It teaches, it softens, it opens the heart. And in the quiet understanding of impermanence, we find a gentle, enduring peace that no wave of sorrow can wash away. Finding stillness in the midst of sadness. Come, my dear friend, and sit quietly with me. Let us speak gently, as though no one else exists in this moment, and the only thing that matters is the rhythm of our breath and the tender beat of the heart. Sadness is a companion many fear, yet it arrives for a reason. It whispers, it teaches, it calls us to notice what we have been ignoring. Often, in our rush, in our endless plans, in the noise of life, we fail to sit. We fail to breathe. And the heart quietly gathers weight until it seems too heavy to carry. I remember a student who came to me one late afternoon, his eyes clouded with exhaustion and despair. "Master," he said, "I feel lost inside. My mind won't stop. My heart won't rest. How do I find peace?" I smiled softly and gestured to the pond nearby, its surface smooth, reflecting the sky above. "Do you see the water?" I asked. "Notice how it moves with the wind, yet there is a depth beneath the ripples that remains undisturbed. Sadness is like the wind. It stirs the surface, but beneath, your essence remains calm and still. To find peace, you do not fight the wind. You let the water settle, and you sit quietly, knowing stillness is already within you. Many people try to chase happiness, thinking it is somewhere outside, like a butterfly that must be caught. And when they fail, sadness grows. But stillness is not found in chasing or running. It is found in resting. It is found in breathing slowly, noticing the sensations of your body, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, hearing the faint rustle of leaves. In this attention, life slows just enough for the heart to remember its own capacity for calm. When sadness rises, it often pulls the mind into stories of regret, loss, fear, and longing. These stories feel endless, as if they will drown the spirit. Yet, they are not reality. They are shadows cast by the mind. Observe them gently, as if you are watching clouds pass overhead. Notice them, but do not grasp them. Do not chase them. Let them move across the sky of your awareness, knowing that the sky itself remains untouched, vast, and free. I recall a young woman who struggled with sorrow from many small disappointments, each adding weight like stones in a backpack. She said, "Master, I cannot carry it all. I feel crushed." I asked her to lie on the grass and feel the earth beneath her, the warmth of the sun, the gentle caress of the wind. "Feel these things," I said, "and let the earth support you. Let the simple reality of this moment hold the weight of your sadness." The earth does not demand. It does not judge. It simply is. You can be like this too, resting in the reality of now, without needing to fix or change. Stillness is not about escaping life, my friend. It is not about hiding from sadness or pretending it does not exist. It is about creating a space within, a sanctuary where the heart can breathe and the mind can pause. When you are still, you notice the subtle movements of your thoughts, the soft rise and fall of emotions, the gentle whisper of the body asking only to be acknowledged. In this quiet, the heart can release tension, the mind can release worry, and sadness can reveal its hidden teachings. Often, we misunderstand stillness as emptiness or stagnation, but it is neither. Stillness is alive. It is the fertile ground in which insight can grow. When you stop running, when you stop clinging, when you stop judging your own feelings, you create the conditions for understanding, for tenderness, for compassion to emerge. It is like waiting quietly for a flower to bloom. You do not pull it open, you simply prepare the soil and watch patiently. Even small practices can invite stillness. A slow walk along a quiet path, noticing each step. Sitting by a window, feeling the light touch your skin. Breathing with attention, feeling the air enter and leave your body. These small acts are powerful. They teach the mind to pause, and in that pause, sadness is no longer an enemy, but a companion you can observe without being consumed. Many believe that stillness is only possible in silence, but it can exist amid noise as well. In a crowded market, in the midst of conversation, even in a bustling home, you can find a pocket of quiet. It begins with noticing, with slowing, with bringing attention inward. The moment you do, you begin to touch the calm beneath the waves, the space beneath the storms of feeling, the grounding beneath all thought. There is a story I often tell of a monk who sat under a waterfall. The water roared around him, wild and relentless, yet he sat, unmoving, fully present. He did not resist the torrent, nor did he flee. He simply allowed the water to wash over him, letting it reveal the contours of his mind. By staying still in the midst of noise, he discovered a clarity that could not have been found in calm alone. Sadness, like the waterfall, may roar and press against you, but you can find the stillness beneath if you choose to remain present. Our hearts are often like that waterfall, turbulent with feelings we cannot control. Yet, beneath the turbulence lies a quiet pool, a space of understanding, a sense of self that is untouched by passing waves. When you notice this, you see that sadness is temporary, fleeting, a surface pattern upon a deeper current that remains steady, patient, enduring. Stillness also teaches patience. When we sit with sadness, we notice its arrival and departure. We see how it ebbs and flows like the tide, how it rises and falls like wind through the trees. And in seeing this, we learn not to rush, not to push, not to demand that life conform to our wishes. We learn to trust the rhythm of existence, to trust that all feelings, all experiences, have their own timing, their own movement. There is a subtle joy in this patience, even amidst sorrow. When we stop grasping, when we stop resisting, a small lightness enters the heart. We realize that sadness does not define us, that it passes through, that it is only one wave among many. And in this realization, the mind rests, the heart softens, and the body exhales in relief. I have seen students who feared stillness because they thought it would bring more suffering. But in truth, stillness amplifies what already exists. It reveals the beauty hidden beneath the ache, the lessons concealed within longing, the tenderness buried beneath worry. By allowing ourselves to be still, we allow life to teach in its own way, without interference, without judgment, without fear. Even in the darkest moments, stillness is a sanctuary. When grief feels unbearable, when loss seems endless, when the mind spins in circles of doubt, sitting quietly, breathing gently, and noticing the body and mind can bring relief. You do not need to change anything, fix anything, or explain anything. Simply being present, fully and tenderly, is enough. Stillness is also a mirror. When we look deeply, we see the patterns of our mind, the habits of clinging, the ways we resist, the stories we repeat. Observing without judgment allows us to step back from these patterns, to loosen their grip, to recognize that we are not our thoughts or emotions, but the awareness that perceives them. This awareness is calm, steady, enduring. Through stillness, we learn compassion, both for ourselves and others. When we are gentle with our own sadness, we begin to extend gentleness outward. We realize that others too carry hidden burdens, silent sorrows, unspoken fears. The more we practice presence and observation, the more our heart opens, and sadness, while it may still come, no longer dominates, no longer isolates, no longer terrifies. Even the smallest breath, the simplest moment of attention, can be transformative. When sadness presses close, bring yourself to stillness. Feel the body, feel the breath, feel the subtle movement of life within and around you. Let the mind pause, let the heart rest, and allow the sorrow to flow through like a quiet stream, leaving the deeper waters calm, clear, and patient. And so, my friend, stillness is not absence. It is life lived fully, tenderly, with awareness. It is the gentle understanding that all feelings arise and pass, that all thoughts come and go, that beneath them is a steady, enduring presence. When you sit in stillness, sadness may visit, but it cannot rule. It may whisper, but it cannot bind. It may sting, but it cannot destroy. And in this sacred space, the heart learns to breathe, to rest, and to simply be. The practice of stillness is lifelong. Each moment, each breath, each gentle attention builds the sanctuary within. Even when the world rushes, even when feelings swirl, you carry this quiet place inside. And from here, my dear friend, you can meet life, sadness, and joy with a heart that is tender, aware, and free. Embracing your own heart. Sit with me a little, my friend, and let us speak quietly about something most of us forget to notice. Our own hearts. We often spend so much time caring for others, chasing dreams, fixing problems, or running from pain, that we forget to look inward. We think our hearts are small, fragile, or unworthy of attention. But the truth is, your heart is vast, resilient, and capable of a tenderness you may not yet have fully known. Sadness often comes when we disconnect from this heart, when we leave it unattended like a garden overgrown with weeds, and then wonder why the flowers cannot bloom. I remember a young monk who arrived at our monastery, his eyes heavy with doubt and loneliness. He said, "Master, I feel empty inside. No one notices me. I try to be good, to help, to serve, yet I am always tired, always aching. I smiled softly and guided him to the river that flowed behind the temple. Do you see the water? I asked. See how it moves around stones, around branches, always finding its way, never forcing, never rushing. Your heart is like this river. When you embrace it, even its sadness, even its fear, it will move naturally, and you will find a way to flow through life without breaking. Most people fear embracing their own heart because they think it will make them weak. They think, if I feel deeply, I will drown. Yet, the opposite is true. When we allow ourselves to feel fully, joy, sorrow, longing, love, the heart grows stronger. Feeling is not weakness. It is strength in its most honest form. Sadness, then, becomes a teacher rather than a prison. It shows us where our love, care, and attention are waiting to be returned to ourselves. Many forget to notice the little moments of tenderness in life. A bird landing nearby, the soft warmth of sunlight, a faint breeze on the skin, or even the quiet rhythm of your own breathing. These moments remind the heart that it is alive, that it belongs to life, and that it is not separate from the world. We spend so much time looking outward, seeking approval, attention, or comfort from others, and miss the profound beauty waiting within ourselves. There was a woman who visited me, her shoulders heavy with unspoken grief. She said, I am tired of sadness. I want to be happy, but I do not know how. I asked her to place her hand gently over her chest. Feel your heartbeat, I said. It is steady, even when your mind is racing. It is a friend, a companion, a reminder that life continues, that you continue. If you can hold your own heart like this, with gentleness, patience, and kindness, sadness begins to shift, because you are no longer opposing yourself. She closed her eyes and felt the warmth of her hand on her chest, and for the first time, a faint smile broke through the shadow of her sorrow. We often compare our hearts to others, thinking theirs are larger, more capable, or more deserving. This thinking steals joy and reinforces sadness. Each heart is unique, like a river flowing through mountains and valleys, sometimes calm, sometimes rapid, yet always finding its course. To embrace your own heart fully is to trust its journey, to accept its rhythm, to honor both its strength and its fragility. Sadness itself can teach you to embrace your heart. When grief comes, it often highlights what we have been ignoring, what we have been leaving unloved. Perhaps it is a forgotten dream, a neglected passion, or even parts of yourself that you deny. Instead of running, allow sadness to guide you gently inward. Listen to it as a teacher, showing where your attention, care, and love are needed. When you answer this call, you begin to meet your own heart with compassion. I recall a young man who was consumed with anger and disappointment. He could not forgive himself for mistakes, nor forgive others for pain caused. I asked him to close his eyes and imagine cradling his heart in his hands. Speak to it gently, I said. Tell it it is safe. Tell it it is loved. Tell it you are here. He laughed softly at the absurdity at first, but as he practiced, he began to feel a subtle warmth, a small sense of relief. The heart, when met with kindness, softens even the deepest fear and sorrow. Many times, people focus so much on changing the world that they forget to nurture the inner world. They think, if I help others, if I fix everything, I will feel complete. But true completion arises not from constant doing, but from being with ourselves fully. When you pause, when you breathe, when you allow your heart to be noticed, even for a few moments, you create a foundation of care that ripples outward naturally. From this inner stability, compassion for others flows effortlessly, without strain. Embracing your heart also means forgiving yourself. We carry regrets, old mistakes, words we wish we hadn't said, actions we wish we could undo. These linger like stones in the pockets of our chest, pressing down, making movement difficult. To embrace your heart is to reach in gently, remove the stones one by one, and lay them down without judgment. Each act of forgiveness, even tiny, restores balance and invites warmth into the spaces that have been cold. I have seen many hearts transform simply through attention. A simple ritual of noticing breath, listening to body, acknowledging emotions, and resting in the awareness of presence can create profound healing. You do not need elaborate practices or faraway journeys. All you need is the willingness to be with yourself, exactly as you are, and to honor what is alive inside. Even sadness, when embraced, becomes a bridge to love. When you meet your own heart fully, the pain of loss, longing, or fear is softened. You see that your heart is not damaged by grief. It is enhanced by its capacity to feel deeply. The sorrow that once seemed overwhelming becomes a teacher, showing the depth and resilience of your spirit. In my experience, the heart is like a vast garden. If neglected, weeds of fear, anger, or regret grow quickly. But if attended, even with small acts of care, the garden flourishes. Sadness is one of the rains that falls, sometimes heavy, sometimes gentle, nourishing the soil. By embracing your own heart, by noticing it, listening to it, and resting with it, you prepare the soil for growth, joy, and peace. There is a subtle courage in embracing your own heart. It requires honesty, patience, and gentleness. You may encounter old wounds, hidden fears, or unexpected emotions. But each encounter strengthens the bond with your own self. You learn that you are capable of tenderness, capable of holding complexity, capable of living fully even amid uncertainty. I often tell students to treat their hearts as a dear friend. Speak to it kindly, listen carefully, and never ignore its needs. Even small moments, like placing a hand on your chest, breathing slowly, and acknowledging presence, are profound acts of care. Through these, sadness becomes less like a storm and more like a companion passing through, teaching, reminding, and guiding. Even in the quietest, loneliest moments, your heart is always present. It does not abandon you. It is a companion, a guide, a reflection of life itself. To embrace it fully is to find a refuge, a sanctuary, a source of warmth that no external circumstance can remove. Embracing your heart also opens the door to gratitude. When you notice the breath, the heartbeat, the simple presence of being alive, you recognize the quiet miracles around you and within you. Gratitude softens sadness, transforms longing, and nourishes the soul in ways that nothing outside can replace. The practice of meeting your heart is lifelong. Each day, each breath, each gentle awareness strengthens your connection to this inner sanctuary. Sadness may visit, emotions may rise and fall, but your heart, when embraced, remains tender, resilient, and capable of holding all that comes with grace. When you carry this practice into your life, you begin to notice the subtle joys often missed. The warmth of sunlight, the laughter of a child, the gentle rhythm of wind in the trees, the quiet whisper of a friend, the soft comfort of your own presence. Your heart, once neglected, becomes a living wellspring of compassion, strength, and clarity. And so, my friend, to embrace your own heart is to meet life fully. Sadness is no longer a foe, but a teacher. Fear is no longer a chain, but a messenger. You carry within a space of tenderness, a depth of resilience, a light that continues even in the darkest night. Sit with this, breathe with this, and know that your heart is always, always enough. Finding stillness amid the storm. Come sit with me, friend, and let us speak quietly about the storms we carry within. Life, as you know, is full of them, sometimes quiet, sometimes fierce. There are days when sadness feels like a heavy cloud pressing down on the chest, and no matter how much you try, you cannot shake it. You might feel restless, anxious, or even a little lost, wondering why happiness seems just beyond reach. It is in these moments, when the world feels chaotic, that the practice of stillness becomes most vital, yet most challenging and yet most rewarding. I remember a student, a young woman with eyes full of worry. She came to me one morning, her hands trembling slightly, and said, "Master, I feel like I am always running, but I never arrive anywhere. My mind is full of thoughts, sadness, and fear. I do not know how to be still." I looked at her gently and said, "Stillness is not found in stopping movement, nor in forcing the mind to quiet. Stillness is found in learning to breathe with the storm, to sit with it without fighting, and to notice the space between the waves." Often, we think that stillness means absence of life, as if being still is the same as being empty. But this is not true. True stillness is alive. It is a gentle awareness that observes without judgment, that listens without interruption. It is like the eye of a hurricane, calm and clear, while all around, the wind swirls. The mind may race, emotions may churn, but there is a place within that remains untouched, a sanctuary we can always return to. I have seen many people struggle with this. They try to meditate, sit quietly, but the thoughts are relentless, the worries insistent. They feel they are failing because they cannot stop thinking. But I tell them, thoughts are not your enemy. They are clouds passing through the sky of your mind. Observe them, acknowledge them, and let them drift. In time, the storm feels less threatening, less consuming. There was a man who had lost everything he cared about. His job, his home, even the relationships he had relied on. He came to the monastery, heavy with grief, asking me how to find peace when nothing made sense. I asked him to sit by the pond behind the temple and watch the ripples. Do you see how the water moves, even when the wind disturbs it? Sometimes it is calm, sometimes rippling, sometimes tossed by storms. The water does not resist. It simply allows, and in that allowance, it remains whole. He watched for hours, and slowly, he began to understand. Stillness is not about escaping life. It is about embracing it fully, without clinging and without resistance. It is about being present, even when the heart aches. When sadness rises, when fear whispers, or when anger flares, stillness allows us to witness these emotions without being swept away. It is not suppression. It is gentle observation, like watching leaves float on a stream without reaching out to hold them. The world often tells us that we must act, solve, achieve, or fix in order to be worthy or safe. But stillness teaches a different kind of wisdom. That worthiness is not measured by doing, that safety is not always found in control, and that true clarity arises when we allow the mind to settle, even amidst chaos. This is the paradox of stillness. It asks us to pause in order to move, to be quiet in order to hear, to let go in order to hold more deeply. I remember guiding a young monk who could not sleep, whose mind replayed mistakes and worries endlessly. Night after night, he would toss and turn, frustrated that he could not quiet himself. I told him, "Do not force the mind to rest. Instead, notice the rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest, the sensation of your feet on the floor. Even in thought, even in worry, stillness can be found. It is not about absence. It is about presence. Slowly, Over weeks, he discovered that sleep came not from chasing it, but from allowing it to arrive naturally. Sometimes, stillness is found in motion, walking slowly in the forest, feeling the earth beneath your feet, noticing the smell of leaves, the songs of birds, the touch of wind on your skin. This is stillness too. It is a presence that does not fight with life, that does not demand perfection, that simply allows the world to be exactly as it is, and ourselves to be exactly as we are. When you practice stillness, sadness does not vanish immediately, but it changes its shape. Instead of a raging flood, it becomes a quiet stream, flowing through rather than overwhelming. Instead of fear controlling your thoughts, you notice its presence, feel it, and let it pass. Instead of despair making you heavy, you learn to move with it, carrying it lightly, like a cloak that warms rather than weighs down. I have also taught that stillness is not solitary. It connects us deeply with others, not through words or actions, but through presence. When we are fully still within ourselves, we can be fully present with another, not to fix, not to advise, not to change, but simply to witness and share the space of being. This shared stillness becomes a healing balm, both for the giver and the receiver, because it reminds us that none of us are alone in our storms. Many people fear silence, thinking it will reveal emptiness, weakness, or failure. Yet, it is precisely in silence that we meet the heart, the mind, and the spirit. Silence is a mirror. It reflects what we have ignored, what we have resisted, and what we have refused to see. But when met with kindness and gentle attention, silence reveals wisdom, resilience, and the vast capacity for love that has always been within. I often ask students to imagine a sky before dawn, when the world is quiet and still. The stars are fading, a soft light begins to appear, and the world is neither moving nor rushed. This moment holds both calm and possibility, both reflection and anticipation. The mind, like that sky, can become vast, open, and tender, containing the entirety of experience without being overwhelmed by any single thing. Even in life's heaviest storms, stillness is a refuge. It is not denial. It is not numbness. It is the conscious choice to be present, to feel, to breathe, to allow, and to meet life as it is. The more we practice, the more we discover that stillness is not separate from life. It is the life that runs quietly beneath the surface, carrying us through difficulties with grace, patience, and understanding. When sadness, anxiety, or fear arise, invite them gently. I see you. I feel you. You are welcome here. By acknowledging rather than resisting, the intensity softens. By breathing with the storm, rather than against it, the storm loses its power to overwhelm. By returning to the sanctuary of stillness again and again, even for moments at a time, we build a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. Stillness teaches the heart patience. It teaches that everything unfolds in its own time, that grief has its rhythm, that joy has its rhythm, and that life itself is a rhythm to be felt, not controlled. When we resist, we create friction, tension, and suffering. When we allow, we find flow, ease, and clarity. This is not magic. It is simply learning to align with what already is, rather than insisting on what we think should be. There is no perfect way to practice stillness. There is no measure of success. Each breath, each pause, each gentle attention is enough. Sometimes the mind wanders, sometimes the heart aches, sometimes life overwhelms. But stillness is always there to return to, a soft, steady presence that does not demand or judge, only holds and observes. I have seen lives transformed by stillness. People who once felt chaos in every step begin to walk lightly, speak softly, and breathe freely. They still feel sadness, they still feel fear, They still experience loss, but they are no longer lost within it. Stillness gives a map not of where to go, but of how to be, of how to navigate the tides of life with an open heart and a steady mind. And so, my friend, in your own storms, when sadness rises or fear whispers, when the world feels too heavy or your mind too restless, remember the river, the pond, the sky before dawn. Return to stillness, not to escape life, but to embrace it more fully. Breathe, notice, allow, and let the gentle strength of presence carry you, even when the winds howl and the rains fall, because within you, there is a calm place that has always been and will always be waiting. Stillness, in its gentle, patient, unwavering way, teaches the heart how to rest, teaches the mind how to observe, teaches the soul how to endure, and teaches life itself that even in chaos, there can be clarity, warmth, and peace. Sit with this, breathe with this, and let it guide you gently through the storm, until the clouds pass, the sun rises, and you see clearly, once more, the vastness of your own being. This is the quiet art of living fully. To find stillness not outside but within, to meet sadness not as an enemy, but as a companion, to carry life not with strain, but with tender, unwavering presence. Embracing your emotions without fear. Sit down with me for a moment, friend, and let's talk about something we all face, yet often fear to meet: our emotions. You know, it's strange how life gives us this incredible capacity to feel deeply, yet the very thing that makes us human can also make us uneasy. Sadness, anger, fear, even joy sometimes. They can all sweep through us like sudden winds, leaving us unsettled, unsure, or even afraid of ourselves. Many people spend their whole lives trying to avoid certain emotions, thinking if they ignore them, they will disappear. But in truth, the more we resist, the more they linger, hiding like shadows behind closed doors, waiting for a moment to appear in a storm. I remember a young man who came to me once, his shoulders heavy, his gaze distant, as if carrying invisible burdens. He said, "Master, I feel so much, yet I cannot express anything. It overwhelms me, and then I feel guilty for feeling it at all." I nodded slowly, understanding the weight he carried. "Feeling," I said, "is not a mistake. Feeling is not your enemy. It is the language of your heart, trying to speak to you, to tell you something important. To run from it is to lose the chance to truly understand yourself. Many times, we think that strength lies in controlling or suppressing what we feel, believing that emotion is a kind of weakness. But true strength, I tell my students, comes from embracing the emotions without judgment, without labeling them as good or bad. It comes from learning to sit with sadness, to breathe through fear, to witness anger without letting it consume. When you meet an emotion with gentle awareness, it changes its nature. It is no longer a flood trying to sweep you away. It becomes a teacher, a companion, guiding you toward insight. I recall a woman who was grieving the loss of a loved one. She came to me, weeping softly, saying she didn't know how to stop crying, how to live with such emptiness. I asked her to imagine the tears not as pain to resist, but as a river flowing through her heart. The river may be turbulent, I said. It may be deep and frightening, but it is also cleansing. To resist it is to make the river spill over and drown you. To allow it, to move with it, is to let the heart heal gently in its own time. Over weeks, she learned that sitting with her grief, acknowledging each wave, allowed her sorrow to transform into a quiet, gentle strength. Emotions are not just reactions to the outside world. They are reflections of our inner landscape. Anger might arise not just from someone else's actions, but from unacknowledged pain within ourselves. Anxiety may not simply be about events to come, but about our need to control what we cannot. Happiness may fade quickly if we cling too tightly to it. And sadness, though heavy, can be the doorway to compassion, understanding, and self-discovery. The Zen path teaches us to meet each emotion fully, not to escape, not to suppress, but to witness. Sometimes, people fear their emotions because they equate feeling with action. They believe that feeling anger means they must act harshly, or that feeling sadness means they are weak. But emotions are not instructions, they are messages. They tell us where we are attached, where we are resisting, where our hearts are tender. To observe an emotion is to create space between feeling and reaction. This space is precious. It is the place where wisdom, clarity, and calm arise naturally, without effort. I once guided a student who was trapped in cycles of guilt. He felt remorse for past mistakes and could not forgive himself. He asked, "Master, how do I let go of this weight?" I told him to start simply. Sit quietly, breathe, and allow yourself to feel the guilt fully, without shame, without pushing it away. Feel it as a wave passing over you. Observe its texture, its color, its intensity. It is not permanent. It is part of your current experience. When you meet it with gentleness, it softens. Over time, he found that acknowledging guilt openly, without resisting, released its hold over him. One of the most subtle yet profound lessons in embracing emotions is learning that they are not personal failures. Feeling sadness does not make you weak. Feeling fear does not make you cowardly. Feeling anger does not make you cruel. These are human experiences, natural and necessary. When we stop labeling emotions as enemies, we stop waging internal battles. We stop trying to fix ourselves constantly and instead begin to observe, understand, and respond with care. Even joy can be challenging. When happiness arises, some fear losing it or feel unworthy of it. But joy, like sorrow, is a fleeting visitor. It comes and goes, and the key is to welcome it fully, to savor its presence without clinging, without creating an expectation that it must stay. This is the rhythm of life, the natural ebb and flow of emotions. To resist the flow is to create turbulence. To allow the flow is to find peace. I often remind my students of a story about a bamboo forest. In the wind, the bamboo bends and sways, yet it does not break. It yields to the gusts, yielding not out of weakness, but out of harmony with the world. Our emotions are like that wind, and we, like the bamboo, must learn to bend and sway with them. We must let sadness touch us, let fear ripple through us, let anger burn briefly, then pass. In yielding, we find resilience. In surrender, we find strength. There is a misconception that embracing emotions means indulging them. It does not. It does not mean acting impulsively, shouting in anger, or retreating into sadness. It means awareness, presence, and acknowledgement. When we honor the emotion, we observe it, understand its source, and allow it to move through us naturally. This gentle practice prevents us from being consumed by the emotion or letting it control our actions unconsciously. The path of observing emotions is not linear. Some days, the heart feels calm and observant. Other days, waves of old grief or anxiety resurface unexpectedly. Patience is required, not only with the process, but with oneself. We must speak kindly to ourselves, gently guiding, rather than scolding or forcing. Every moment of awareness is a victory. Every breath taken in presence is a step toward peace. I have seen people transform through this practice. Those who once feared their tears learn to cry openly, to release, and to feel light afterward. Those who trembled at anger learn to notice it, speak softly, and act with clarity rather than impulse. Those who ran from fear find the courage to meet it gently, understanding its message and walking forward with steadier steps. This is the alchemy of embracing emotions, the turning of turbulence into clarity, of pain into insight, of chaos into harmony. Even grief, which is often the heaviest emotion, has its lessons. It teaches attachment, love, and impermanence. It teaches us what matters, what is fleeting, and what endures. Sitting with grief, allowing it to move through the body and mind, softens its sting over time. It transforms the raw ache into a deep understanding of our capacity to love, to care, and to be present. Embracing emotions also teaches empathy. When we meet our own sorrow and fear with gentleness, we naturally extend that same kindness to others. We begin to notice when someone else trembles with sadness or burns with anger. Not to judge, but to understand. Emotional awareness becomes a bridge connecting hearts, creating space for compassion, listening, and true presence. Friend, remember this always. Emotions are not obstacles to overcome, but doors to understanding. They are not storms to resist, but rivers to navigate. When you sit quietly and allow yourself to feel fully, without judgment or shame, the landscape of your mind and heart becomes clearer. You begin to see the connections between your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and the world around you. Sometimes, embracing emotions means feeling small, vulnerable, or uncertain. But vulnerability is the gateway to authenticity. To feel deeply is not to suffer. It is to live fully, to allow sadness, joy, anger, or fear to pass through you. Acknowledged and witnessed is the practice of being truly human. This is where wisdom and compassion are born, not from avoiding life, but from meeting it head-on, heart open, presence steady. And so, in your moments of doubt, when tears rise or anxiety whispers, remember to sit with yourself gently. Observe the emotion, name it quietly, breathe through it, and let it move. Treat it as a teacher, not an enemy. In time, you will find that the heart grows stronger, clearer, and softer simultaneously. It will hold space for pain and joy alike, for fear and courage, for loss and love. And through this gentle embracing, life becomes not a burden, but a flowing, beautiful, complex tapestry of experience. Emotions, in their fullness, teach the art of living. To embrace them without fear is to step into life with open eyes, steady hands, and a tender heart. This is the way of balance, the way of presence, the way of peace. Let this be your practice, quietly, patiently, gently, and you will discover that even the heaviest storms can be met with calm, the darkest nights with light, and the deepest sorrows with a tender, enduring strength that nothing can take away. Letting go and finding true peace. Come, friend, let us sit together a while and speak quietly about something so many of us struggle with, but seldom discuss openly: letting go. In our lives, we carry so many things, don't we? Thoughts of what could have been, regrets that press on the heart, attachments to people, places, memories, and even our own ideas about who we should be. And when these things grow heavy, when the weight presses down, we start to feel restless, anxious, or even sorrowful. The truth is, life asks us to hold lightly, to release, but we resist because letting go feels like losing, and losing feels frightening. I remember a young woman who came to me once, her eyes red from sleepless nights. She said, "Master, I can't stop thinking about the past. I keep reliving mistakes and wishing I could undo them. I feel trapped." I nodded slowly, because I too have known this feeling. "My dear," I said, "the past is like a river that has already flowed. No matter how much we want to stop it, it will not pause. We can look at it, understand it, and learn from it, but clinging to it will only weigh down the heart. To let go is not to forget or to deny, but to allow yourself to be free from the chains you have placed on yourself. Many people believe letting go is a single action, a moment where suddenly everything becomes light. But it is more like breathing, a gentle process. It is noticing the heaviness in your chest and deciding slowly, one breath at a time, to release it. Perhaps today, you let go of one small worry, and tomorrow, another. Perhaps you practice seeing your memories without judgment, feeling them fully, and then placing them gently aside. Each time, the heart becomes a little lighter, the mind a little calmer. I once guided a student who had lost a dear friend. He carried anger, sadness, and regret all at once. He thought that letting go meant forgetting the friend or ceasing to love them. I told him, no, letting go does not mean erasing love. It means holding it differently, without allowing it to harm you. The love remains, but the suffering that comes from clinging can be released. Slowly, over months, he practiced this daily, noticing each emotion, breathing through it, and eventually, he found that love endured, but pain no longer consumed him. We also cling to expectations. Expectations of others, of ourselves, of life itself. When these expectations are unmet, disappointment arises, like waves crashing over a fragile boat. We may not even notice how tightly we have grasped these expectations, how they secretly tighten our hearts. Letting go means loosening the grip, allowing reality to be as it is without forcing it to conform to our desires. And in that acceptance, a profound peace begins to emerge, gentle and unobtrusive, yet deeply nourishing. Attachment is not always something dramatic. Often it is subtle. The habit of checking your phone, replaying conversations, imagining future outcomes, or holding onto a grudge. These attachments accumulate, like dust settling in a quiet room, unnoticed until the air feels thick. The practice of letting go is like cleaning the room, gently wiping away the dust without judgment, creating space for clarity, for light to enter, and for peace to settle naturally. I tell my students that letting go is not a one-time act of courage, but a continual dance with life. There will always be moments that stir old attachments, that tempt the heart to clutch again. And that is natural. What matters is awareness. Notice when the hand tightens around something that no longer serves, and gently open it. Let the object, memory, or expectation slip away like sand through fingers. This does not diminish you, it frees you. The mind often fears emptiness that comes with letting go, thinking that to release something is to leave a void. But emptiness is not a lack, it is potential. It is the fertile soil in which new experiences, new joy, and new understanding can grow. When you let go of what binds you, you create space for life to enter in fresh ways. You may notice a lighter step, a quieter mind, a heart more open to both sorrow and joy. Many people struggle with forgiving themselves, thinking that letting go means excusing mistakes. But forgiveness is not approval. It is acknowledgement, understanding, and release. To forgive yourself is to recognize that you did the best you could with the awareness you had, and now you allow yourself to move forward. Holding on to guilt does not teach you anything. Letting it go allows wisdom and compassion to take root. I have seen people transformed through this gentle practice. One man, burdened by past failures, learned to breathe with each regret, to acknowledge it, to feel it, and then slowly to set it down. Over time, the weight lessened. He discovered that freedom is not something given by others, but something cultivated within, through patience, mindfulness, and self-kindness. Even our plans and ambitions can be sources of attachment. We hold tightly to ideas of how life should unfold, believing our security and happiness depend on them. Yet life often unfolds differently, and in resisting, we suffer. The Zen way teaches us to plan, to act, but also to release the outcome. Letting go of rigid expectations allows us to meet each moment fully, to adapt gracefully, and to find contentment even when the path diverges from our imagined route. Letting go is also a practice in relationships. We cling to people, wanting them to act, think, or feel as we hope. This creates tension and disappointment. But when we release the need to control others, when we allow them to be as they are, we cultivate understanding and harmony. Love, in its truest form, is free. It does not possess, it allows. The body, too, holds attachments. Pain, habits, tension. These are forms of holding. Mindful attention to the body, noticing where you cling, where you resist, allows release. Perhaps a shoulder relaxes, perhaps a breath deepens, perhaps the heart softens. These small acts of letting go in the body ripple outward, influencing the mind and spirit. Many fear letting go because they mistake it for passivity. But releasing attachments does not mean inaction. It is not giving up. It is choosing the actions that are wise, compassionate, and grounded without the weight of clinging. It is living fully in each moment, with clarity and openness, rather than struggling against life's currents. I often speak of a leaf falling from a tree. It does not resist, it does not mourn, it simply lets go and floats. In letting go, it participates fully in the cycle of life. We too can learn from the leaf, releasing gently, trusting the natural flow, and finding grace in surrender. Even when we let go, there may be longing, moments when the heart reaches back. This is human, and it is okay. What matters is the gentle awareness, noticing the longing, breathing through it, and returning to presence. With time, the heart learns to rest in peace, to hold lightly, and to embrace life's impermanence with serenity. The practice of letting go is ongoing. There is no final moment where all attachments vanish. There is only continual practice, moment by moment, breath by breath, awareness by awareness. Each act of release lightens the heart, opens the mind, and nurtures the spirit. It is a lifelong dance, and every step matters. Friend, remember, letting go is the gateway to freedom, clarity, and true peace. It is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. It is not loss, but liberation. When you embrace this practice, you discover the heart can hold life in all its complexity. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, love and parting, without being crushed. And so, as you walk through life, may you carry this simple understanding. Release what binds you, embrace each moment fully, breathe with awareness, and let your heart be light. In this gentle letting go, you will find a profound, unshakable peace. One that endures through the storms, flows with the rivers of life, and rests softly in the quiet of your being. There are so many views on this channel, yet only a tiny few, just 0.3%, have subscribed. If these words touch your heart even slightly, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Wisdom Woven. Share this gentle teaching so it may reach others. And may we all practice letting go together, learning to live lighter, freer, and with a heart open to life's beauty. Why bad things happen to good people? Come, friend, sit with me for a while and breathe. For today we will speak about something heavy, something that touches the heart of almost every person at some point in life. Why bad things happen to good people? It is a question that has no easy answer. Yet it is one that shapes the way we see the world, the way we see ourselves, and the way we respond to the unfolding of life. Many walk through life expecting fairness, expecting that good deeds will always bring good returns, that life will follow a neat line of cause and effect according to our desires. And yet, time and again, we see the unexpected, the harsh, the painful, and we wonder, why me? Why them? Why, when we try to live with kindness and sincerity, do these storms find us? I remember a student, a young man full of hope, who came to me in tears, his hands shaking. He said, "Master, I try to do everything right. I help people. I speak kindly. I care. And yet bad things still happen. I don't understand. Why does life punish those who do good?" I looked at him and said softly, "Ah, my child, the world does not follow the rules we imagine. Life is not a ledger, carefully balancing good against bad. It flows like the wind, sometimes gentle, sometimes stormy, and often in ways we cannot comprehend. To think that goodness guarantees protection is to misunderstand the nature of existence. You see, the first thing we must understand is that life is impartial. The sun shines on all fields equally. The rain falls on the righteous and the wicked alike. Events do not discriminate, and suffering does not consult our intentions. It comes, sometimes as a quiet ache, sometimes as a roaring wave, not because you deserve it, but because it is part of the impermanent, unpredictable, and ever-changing rhythm of existence. And this is not meant to scare you, but to awaken you. It teaches that life is not something to control, but something to navigate with awareness, courage, and acceptance. There was a woman in our village, known for her generosity and gentle spirit. She fed the hungry, comforted the lonely, and yet illness came to her, relentless and merciless. People whispered unfairness, injustice, divine punishment. But she did not cry at injustice. She cried at pain, at loss, at the fragility of life. And in that crying, in that deep, honest grief, she discovered something subtle. The world does not owe her ease, but her heart can still hold peace. She learned to respond to suffering not with anger at life, but with compassion for herself and others. Goodness does not shield from hardship. It does not prevent loss, betrayal, illness, or grief, but it does shape how we respond when these things arrive. A good person who suffers may stumble, yes, may cry, may feel despair, but the essence of their heart, the capacity for kindness, love, and understanding, remains intact. Suffering does not diminish them. It often reveals a depth of strength they did not know they had. Sometimes, bad things happen as a mirror, showing us the unseen corners of our life. Perhaps it is a lesson not about morality, but about resilience, awareness, or detachment. Perhaps a loss is asking us to let go of illusions, to re-examine attachments, to understand impermanence. Not every suffering has meaning that is immediately clear, and that is part of the mystery. But each experience can teach us, if we remain open, if we breathe through the pain, and if we allow ourselves to witness life as it is, without insisting it follow our narrow sense of fairness. I have met people who suffered greatly, yet responded with grace. They did not curse the world. They did not demand justice from the universe. They simply walked forward, carrying pain like a heavy cloak, yet letting the weight teach them humility, patience, and empathy. And in doing so, they became beacons, not because suffering had been removed, but because they had learned to move with it, to hold it without letting it harden their hearts. There is another subtle truth. Bad things often happen to reveal the interconnectedness of life. The world is vast, and no action exists in isolation. Sometimes suffering touches a good person because it ripples outward, affecting others, teaching empathy, prompting action, or awakening deeper understanding in the community. The pain is not punishment. It is a thread in the vast, intricate tapestry of existence. And though it may feel unfair when seen alone, from a broader perspective, every experience carries the potential for growth, for awakening, for compassion. And yet, many cannot see this when the storm hits, when illness strikes, when betrayal cuts deep, when loss shatters routine and expectation. The mind cries out for reason, for justice, for fairness. And in the quiet of that anguish, the practice begins. The practice of allowing pain to exist without resisting it, of witnessing without judgment, of understanding that life's unfolding is beyond the narrow lens of reward and punishment. To suffer and remain open-hearted is one of the deepest teachings of Zen. Some people fear suffering so much that they harden their hearts. They decide that the world is cruel, that goodness is useless, that compassion invites pain. And yes, suffering may revisit them, yet their reaction transforms the experience. They suffer doubly, once from life's events, and again from the bitterness they carry. But a good heart, even when battered, can choose differently. It can choose to maintain integrity, to keep kindness, to respond with awareness. And in that, suffering loses some of its power to corrupt. Consider the story of a fisherman who woke one morning to find his boat wrecked by a storm. He had been careful, skilled, and diligent, yet misfortune struck. Many villagers pitied him, whispered about fate, but the fisherman smiled gently. He said, "I cannot control the wind or the waves, but I can control how I meet them." And he rebuilt, slowly, patiently, with gratitude for the life he still had, for the lessons the storm brought. In his heart, no bitterness grew, only awareness, resilience, and humility. The essence of why bad things happen to good people lies not in judgment, but in understanding impermanence and the nature of life. Life does not operate on fairness or moral accounting. It operates on flow, change, and balance beyond our comprehension. And this does not mean we should not act kindly, or that goodness is meaningless. On the contrary, in a world where suffering is inevitable, the goodness of heart becomes luminous, a guide for self and others, a source of light amid uncertainty. To those who ask, "Why me?" I say, because life unfolds this way, because the universe is vast and impartial, because suffering is a teacher, harsh but truthful, because your heart's response matters more than the events themselves. Each act of kindness, each moment of integrity, each breath held with awareness ripples outward, influencing others in ways we may never see. Your suffering does not vanish injustice, it deepens compassion. Your pain does not reward fairness, it cultivates wisdom. We also suffer because attachment lingers. We attach to outcomes, to people, to permanence, and when the impermanent shifts, we hurt. A good person may suffer precisely because they notice, because they care, because their heart feels deeply. This is not a flaw. It is a sign of sensitivity and humanity. And in practicing awareness, in embracing the impermanence of life, a space opens where suffering no longer defines the self, where clarity and compassion can grow even in hardship. I have seen communities transformed by the resilience of those who suffer with dignity. When good people face hardship, they do not vanish. They inspire, teach, and model the way of compassionate response. Their suffering is not meaningless. It becomes the soil in which understanding, kindness, and wisdom can bloom. And in this way, life's seeming unfairness is reframed, not as punishment, but as opportunity for the heart to awaken. Friend, remember, being good does not guarantee immunity from life's storms, but it guarantees that when storms come, your heart has the power to remain luminous, even if battered. It guarantees that your suffering, seen through the lens of awareness, can teach you resilience, deepen compassion, and reveal the profound mystery of existence. The world may not be fair, Yet your goodness carries a light that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. And so, breathe deeply, observe honestly, and walk gently. Accept that bad things will come, as surely as the sun rises and sets, but do not let them corrupt your heart. Let them teach, awaken, and refine your spirit. In this understanding, you begin to see life as it is. Not just the surface, but the flowing, interconnected, unpredictable, and beautiful mystery beneath. There are countless eyes on this channel, yet only 0.3% have subscribed. If these words reach your heart even slightly, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Share this gentle teaching so others may see that suffering is part of life, and that goodness remains luminous even when the world is harsh. How to judge someone? Come, sit close, friend, and breathe slowly with me. Today, let us talk about something so common in our lives that we often don't notice it until it stings or weighs heavy on our hearts. The way we judge others. Judgment. It is like a shadow that follows us, quiet, subtle, yet shaping the way we see the world, shaping the way we feel about people, and sometimes even shaping the way we feel about ourselves. Many believe that judging is necessary, that it protects us from harm, that it tells us who is right, who is wrong, who is safe, who is not. And yet, in the stillness, if we look carefully, we may see how often this shadow distorts reality more than it illuminates truth. I remember a young woman who came to me, her eyes heavy with disappointment. She said, "Master, I cannot understand people. Some betray, some lie, some hurt, and some seem perfect. How am I supposed to judge who is trustworthy and who is not? I feel lost." I looked gently at her and said, Child, judging others is like trying to measure the wind. It shifts constantly, and your measure is never exact. To judge from the surface is easy, to see the heart is not. And even when you see the heart, it is always changing. We must learn first to observe without clinging to immediate conclusions. We judge because it feels protective, doesn't it? When someone lies, cheats, or deceives, our mind snaps into alert, warning us, guarding us. But often, this guarding becomes habit, automatic, a lens through which we see every smile, every word, every gesture. We label, we categorize, we decide quickly, and sometimes harshly. We call someone greedy, selfish, lazy, or dishonest based on a single action, or even a single impression. And yet, in that act of judgment, we rarely see the fullness of the person. We see only the piece we choose to notice, and the piece we fear. There was once a man in our village, quiet, reserved, often keeping to himself. People whispered, "He is strange, maybe not trustworthy." And yes, he seemed distant, awkward in conversation, never joining the gossip or the social gatherings. Yet one day, a terrible fire broke out near his home. The same man who had been labeled cold and strange ran through the flames to save a child trapped inside. His heart, hidden all this time, was revealed not by words, but by action. How many had judged him wrongly? How many had missed the depth of his being because they saw only a fragment? Judging is often a mirror of our own fears and desires. We judge quickly because it comforts us to feel we understand, that we are safe, that the world is predictable. And yet, when we see the world and people through this shadow, we miss the subtle, the unseen, the richness beneath. Every person carries their story, their pain, their dreams, and their failures, often hidden behind layers of fear, habit, or circumstance. To judge is to look at a single surface and declare it the whole, forgetting that depth is never visible all at once. The Zen way is not to abandon discernment. Oh no, but to approach it differently. to observe without immediate condemnation, to notice without labeling, to remain curious rather than reactive. It is not easy, for the mind loves certainty, loves categories, loves the illusion that we can know completely in a glance. Yet, with practice, patience, and gentle awareness, we begin to see people as they are in that moment, without the burden of our assumptions, without the weight of past fears. Imagine, for a moment, that you are in a marketplace. Hundreds of faces pass you every day. Some smile, some frown, some whisper, some shout. Your first instinct may be to judge, to decide who is kind, who is cruel, who is to be trusted. But in truth, every face carries a story unseen. That person who frowns may have just lost a loved one. That smile may hide immense worry. Every word spoken may be shaped by circumstances you cannot know. To judge without this awareness is to mistake a shadow for the sun. And yet, we cannot live entirely without judgment. Life requires discernment, choices, boundaries. The difference lies in awareness. Observe carefully, yes, but let the heart remain open. See actions, not labels. See intentions, not assumptions. See the struggle and complexity, not just the surface behavior. In doing so, judgment becomes not a weapon, but a tool, a soft, understanding tool rather than a harsh, condemning one. I remember a boy who had been bullied cruelly. He grew bitter, quick to judge, quick to see malice in others where there was none. His heart shrank, his trust vanished, and he became a prisoner of his own mind. One day, he asked me, "Master, how can I know who is good and who is bad?" I said, "You cannot, not fully, but you can see clearly, and you can respond with wisdom. Do not let your judgments be the chains that bind your heart. Observe, yes. Protect yourself, yes. But do not let fear dictate the way you see the world. Every person is more than what they seem, and often, more than they even see in themselves. There is also humility in judgment. The more we see the limits of our understanding, the less we feel the need to label. To say, "I do not know everything about this person, and perhaps I never will," is not weakness but strength. It frees the heart from resentment, it frees the mind from arrogance, and it opens space for empathy. You begin to notice the nuances, the contradictions, the quiet courage or struggle that words cannot convey. And sometimes, the act of refraining from judgment is itself a gift. To the other person, yes, but also to ourselves. We carry less burden, we cultivate patience, we create room for understanding, connection, and genuine trust. We see that people are not simply good or bad, right or wrong, trustworthy or deceitful. They are moving, breathing beings, learning, failing, evolving. To judge harshly is to see only a frame of the painting and never the entire canvas. A story comes to mind of a traveler who arrived in our village, quiet, wandering, carrying nothing but a small sack and a tired face. Villagers whispered, "He is lazy, he does not work, he brings nothing." But the traveler quietly helped a sick elder, repaired broken tools, and shared wisdom in stories. Those who judged him first had missed the depth of his heart. In patience, they saw slowly the truth beyond the surface. This is how life often teaches us. The quick glance can deceive, the first impression can mislead, and judgment can close doors before understanding even knocks. So, my dear friend, when you feel the urge to judge, pause. Breathe. Look beyond appearances, beyond first impressions, beyond fear. Notice your own mind. Why do you judge this person? Is it fear, habit, misunderstanding? Is it projection of your own pain or desire for certainty? And then see them again, not as a label, but as a being walking through life, learning, struggling, and evolving, just like you. Judgment is not abandoned, but softened. It becomes a careful observation, a gentle awareness, a mindful reflection rather than a rigid declaration. We learn to see actions without immediately categorizing the person, to notice patterns without closing the heart, to respond with clarity but also compassion. In this way, life is lived more fully, relationships deepen, and the heart remains luminous, not hardened by assumption. Friend, every person you meet is like a river, flowing, changing, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. To judge them as fixed, as rigid, is to misunderstand the nature of water. Learn to see the currents, to notice the depth, to respect the flow. And in this, you will navigate life with wisdom and gentleness. The world may invite judgment, but the heart that observes with awareness moves lightly, deeply, and freely. And remember, the act of not rushing to judge is itself a practice, a way of being that cultivates understanding, empathy, and peace. It does not mean ignoring danger, nor does it mean being naive. It means seeing fully, responding wisely, and allowing the heart to remain open, even when the mind is cautious. When others don't value your help. Friend, sit down and rest your mind a little, for today we talk about a wound that often goes unseen but cuts deep. When you offer help, when your heart opens, when you give without thinking, and yet others do not value it. This is a quiet suffering, a slow ache, one that makes you question your worth, your kindness, even your purpose. It is subtle, sometimes invisible, yet it is very real, and almost everyone at some point tastes this bitterness. I remember a young man who came to me long ago, his shoulders heavy, his eyes clouded with disappointment. "Master," he said, "I help, I give, I stay awake while others sleep, and yet they don't care. They do not notice. They do not thank. I feel small, invisible, useless. Why should I continue to try?" I looked at him gently, and I could see the storm inside his heart, the way he had tied his value to the response of others, the way he thought giving without recognition was a waste. I said to him, "My child, let me tell you a secret. The river does not ask the flowers to notice its flow. The sun does not demand gratitude from the trees it warms. Your value, your goodness, does not depend on being seen. The act itself is the gift. It is natural to want appreciation, is it not? When we offer our help, we hope for acknowledgement, a simple word, a smile, a nod that says, "I see you, I honor you." And when this does not come, our heart feels heavy, our spirit recoils. We feel ignored, underappreciated, unworthy. But in this moment, when disappointment rises, we must look closely, gently, at why we give and why we expect. Is our help a true offering, free and pure? Or is it tied secretly to recognition, to proof that we are important, that our worth is known? I once knew a woman who spent her days caring for the sick, helping the poor, cooking for the elders, always quietly, without fanfare. Many in the village never noticed her effort. Many never thanked her. Some even criticized her choices, saying she wasted her time. Yet one day, a terrible illness swept the village, and those very same people, who had never appreciated her before, found themselves alive, healthy, and comforted because of her unnoticed labor. She had never given to be seen. She had given because it was natural for her heart to give. And in that selfless act, she discovered a quiet joy, a deep satisfaction, a freedom that the acknowledgement of others could never grant. You see, friend, when others do not value your help, it does not diminish your action. It does not diminish your heart. It may hurt, yes, the sting is real, but that sting teaches something essential. The worth of giving lies in the giving itself, not in the reward, not in the praise, not in the recognition. When we attach our happiness to the response of others, We tie our joy to a variable we cannot control. And life, my dear one, is full of variables. People will notice, people will not. People will value, people will ignore. But the river still flows, still nourishes, still gives. And so must you. Sometimes, when others do not value your help, it is not about you at all. People are wrapped in their own concerns, their own struggles, their own blindness. Just as a flower cannot see the sun, some hearts cannot see the light you bring. This is not rejection, it is limitation. And to be aware of this is not bitterness, it is freedom. You learn not to be chained by the narrow view of others, not to shrink because of someone else's inability to perceive, and slowly, gently, your heart grows wide enough to encompass giving without need, offering without strings. I recall a small boy in the village, eager to help, always running to do chores, to fetch water, to carry bundles for elders. He would come back, chest swelling, expecting a smile, a word of thanks. And sometimes he received none. Once he returned with tears in his eyes, and I asked, "Why do you cry, little one?" He said, "I helped, and they did not care." I nodded slowly, understanding. I said, "Ah, the world does not always see the effort. But see this. When you carried the bundle was lighter because of your hands. When you fetched the water, the thirst was quenched because of your courage. That is enough, my child. Let that be your reward. To give without expectation is not easy. Our mind whispers, 'Notice me, appreciate me, honor me.' And when silence answers, the heart can crack. But silence is not insult. It is a teacher. It teaches patience, humility, and the truth that your worth is not measured by applause, by recognition, by others' gaze. It is measured by the love, care, and courage you pour into your actions, even when no one sees. And yet, do not mistake this for a call to endure abuse or to give until you are empty. True giving carries wisdom, discernment, and boundaries. You offer from fullness, not depletion. You help not because you must be valued, but because your heart is generous, and because helping is the way you walk in this world. The moment you give to be seen, you tie freedom to chains, and your heart becomes a debtor, awaiting payment from another who may never give it. Consider the tree that gives shade in summer. It does not ask the children playing beneath it for thanks. It does not demand recognition for its green leaves, or for the oxygen it releases. It simply grows, simply gives, and the world, in its way, benefits. Some notice, some do not. Yet, the tree remains steadfast. So must you, steadfast in your giving, gentle in your patience, free from the expectation of valuation. I have seen people grow bitter because they measure their love and kindness by the reaction of others. The mind says, "They do not care, therefore I am unworthy." And slowly, quietly, the heart closes, the joy of giving withers, and the light that could have been shared fades. But the Zen way teaches a different path. Give as the river flows, as the wind caresses the leaves, as the sun warms without asking. Give because it is natural, because it is beautiful, because your heart is alive. Let the response of others be beyond your grasp, and your heart remains free, luminous, and full. Sometimes, when others do not value your help, it is a mirror reflecting your own expectation. Look gently at this mirror. See the desire for acknowledgement, the hope for applause, the quiet need to be seen. This is not shameful. It is human, but seeing it allows the heart to untangle, to release, to understand that true value resides not in the eyes of others, but in the giving itself. In this clarity, your spirit becomes unshakable, unbound, and light. A story from long ago comes to mind. A monk once spent years building a path in the forest for travelers, clearing stones, leveling soil, planting markers. Few noticed. Most walked the path without thought. Some cursed the work for being imperfect. The monk labored quietly, with patience, with love. And in the act itself, he found peace. In the giving, he found fulfillment. Recognition came rarely, yet he understood. The path existed, the travelers walked safely, the forest was blessed, and that was enough. So, friend, when you offer your help, do it fully, do it gently, do it without measuring the reaction. When others do not value it, do not shrink, do not harden, do not despair. The action itself, the heart itself, the care itself, these are treasures no one can take, no one can diminish. And over time, you will find that giving without expectation does not make you weak. It makes you strong, free, and radiant. Sometimes, the one who does not notice your help today may be the one who will rely on it tomorrow. Sometimes, gratitude comes silently later, in ways you cannot foresee. And sometimes, it never comes, yet your giving leaves a trace, a gentle ripple, a quiet light that travels farther than eyes can see. This is the mystery and the beauty of helping. Friend, let your heart be a river, flowing gently, endlessly. Let your hands give without asking, without expecting, without counting. And in this, you will discover the freedom that others' neglect can never take. Your joy, your light, your peace. These are born not of applause, but of the depth and courage of your own heart. The freedom in letting go. Ah, my friend, come sit with me for a while. Let us speak softly today, for the words we share must flow like a gentle river, not crash like a storm. We talk today about letting go, not as a concept, not as an idea, but as a living, breathing practice, a quiet freedom that waits patiently for you to understand it. Many carry burdens without even noticing, chains so thin and invisible that they think they are part of themselves. We do not see them, and yet they weigh heavily on the heart, make the mind restless, and slow the step. Letting go is the release of these unseen chains. There is a story I remember. Long ago in a village under the mountain, there lived a potter, a man who shaped clay with hands both strong and tender. Every day he worked, creating vessels meant to carry water, food, and life itself. But the potter had a habit. He held tightly to every piece he made. When a pot cracked or broke, he mourned it for days. He could not bear imperfection. One day, I visited him and watched his hands tremble over a broken pot. I said, "Why do you grieve the clay, my friend?" He said, "It was mine. I worked hard. I wanted it to be perfect." I smiled gently. "Ah," I said, "that is why your heart is heavy. You cling to what is not meant to stay. Let go, and you will find your hands lighter, your mind softer, your heart freer." And so we learn, my dear one, that holding is a natural habit of the mind. We hold grudges, we hold memories, we hold desires and regrets as if they were treasures. Yet, in reality, they are weights. Like a bird carrying stones in its wings, we try to soar but cannot. Letting go does not mean forgetting, and it does not mean giving up. It means understanding that what once was, what could have been, and what cannot be, need not cling to your spirit. There is liberation in this gentle release, a calm that flows through the chest, a softening in the jaw, a quietness that hums through the bones. Sometimes we cling to people. We hold their actions, their words, their approval, or their absence tightly in our hearts. We replay moments, wishing they were different, wishing they had loved us more, noticed us more, appreciated us more. And every replay, every wish, is another brick in a wall that surrounds our heart, keeping the warmth from flowing out, keeping joy from returning. To let go is to dismantle the wall, brick by brick, slowly, patiently, gently. It is to say to ourselves, "You were never mine to hold. You are free, and so am I." I remember a young woman who carried anger for years. A friend had betrayed her. Words were spoken, and she held on to them like a precious jewel, polishing them daily with thoughts of hurt and revenge. Every day, she woke with the stone in her pocket. Every night, she slept with it under her pillow. One evening, she came to me, exhausted, her heart raw, her mind tangled. I told her, "See that stone you carry? It is heavy because you made it heavy. It is not the friend who weighs it down. It is your own hands. Release it. Lay it on the river. Let the water carry it. Watch how the weight lifts." She hesitated. Then slowly, over many nights, she opened her palms and let the stone float away. And when she returned to me, her eyes shone like the morning sun. She was lighter, freer, filled with space where anger had once lived. Letting go can be subtle, almost imperceptible. Sometimes it is not a grand act, but a quiet thought, a shift in the chest, a decision that says, "This no longer defines me." Other times, it is a deep, shuddering surrender, a breaking open that leaves you raw, trembling, and yet alive. The mind fears it, of course. The mind says, "If I release this, I will lose control. If I let go, I will be weak, empty, vulnerable." But my friend, true strength is in the letting go. True freedom is in the understanding that nothing outside of you has the power to bind you, unless you allow it. We also cling to the future. We dream, we plan, we worry. What will happen tomorrow, next year, in 10 years? And the weight of the unknown presses against us like a storm. Letting go is not ignoring the future, not abandoning responsibility. It is understanding that tomorrow is not here yet, and today is all we truly hold. We plant seeds, we water them, we do our best, but we cannot demand they bloom on our schedule. To let go of the need to control, to let go of fear of the unknown, is to feel the gentle breeze of life across our face, to hear the song of the present, and to breathe freely, deeply, without resistance. There is also the letting go of identity, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. We cling to being this or that. We hold our titles, our failures, our successes, as if they are permanent, as if they define us. Yet, life is a river, always moving, always changing. We are clay, not yet fired, water, not yet frozen. Letting go of rigid identity is opening the door to growth, to new possibilities, to the fluidity that life demands. To release old labels is to release old pains, old expectations, old self-judgment. And yes, sometimes we hold even our suffering tightly, thinking it is ours, thinking it defines us, thinking it is a part of our soul. But suffering, my dear one, is like clouds in the sky. They come, they stay for a while, and then they move on. To let go of suffering is not to deny it, not to push it away. It is to observe it, understand it, and allow it to pass through. We cradle it, we learn from it, we honor it, and then we release it, because clinging to suffering only prolongs its presence, only dims our light. I once met a monk who had lost everything: family, home, belongings, reputation, all gone. And yet, his eyes shone with peace. I asked him, "How can you smile when you have lost so much?" He laughed softly, a sound like wind through bamboo. "I have let go," he said. "I held nothing. Nothing could bind me, and so I am free. Loss is not the enemy, attachment is." And in that moment, I saw clearly that letting go is not giving up. It is stepping into a space where nothing can harm us, because nothing is truly ours to be harmed. My friend, the journey of letting go is not a single act. It is a lifelong practice, a gentle unfolding. There will be moments when the mind returns, when the heart clings, when the old habits whisper in your ear. And that is natural. Do not punish yourself. Each time you notice, each time you breathe and release, you are stronger. Each time you open your hand, each time you untie a knot, you create space for peace, for joy, for love. Remember the river again. It does not hoard the water. It does not fight against the stones. It does not demand that the fish notice its flow. It moves, it bends, it gives. And in moving, it becomes everything it needs to be, without effort, without struggle, without resistance. This is the path of letting go. Move with life, bend with life, release with life. And in this, you will find freedom deeper than anything the mind can imagine, peace wider than any expectation, joy untouched by circumstance. Letting go is gentle. Letting go is quiet. Letting go is love for yourself, love for life, love for the unfolding of what is. It is the softest courage, the strongest wisdom, the truest liberation. Friend, do not rush. Begin with small things, small thoughts, small burdens. Notice the relief as the hand opens, as the heart softens, as the chest lifts. Over time, the practice grows, and you will see that the weight you once carried was never yours to hold. And the freedom that comes from letting go was always waiting, patient, gentle, eternal. The stillness within. Ah, my friend, come closer, sit beside me, and breathe slowly. Let us talk today about stillness. Not the kind of stillness you see outside, in the trees or the mountains, but the stillness that lives quietly within your own heart. Many of us wander restlessly, searching for answers, running after dreams, fears, or regrets, and in that constant motion, we forget that there is a sanctuary inside us, waiting patiently for our attention. The stillness within is not something you create. It is something you notice. It has always been here, like a quiet stream beneath the surface of a rushing river, like the moon hidden behind clouds, always present, quietly reflecting, quietly waiting. I remember long ago, a young man came to me, full of questions, full of confusion. His mind raced like wind through bamboo. His heart pounded like a drum in a festival. "Master," he said, "I cannot find peace. I am always anxious, always thinking, always running. How do I find rest?" I smiled gently and said, "Come sit by the river. Watch the water flow. Listen to the wind. Notice how everything moves, yet the river does not struggle. You see, stillness is not the absence of movement. Stillness is the quiet place within that watches all movement without being swept away." He looked at me, puzzled, and I continued softly. When your mind is like a storm, stillness is not stopping the wind. It is letting the wind blow through you without holding on, without clinging. Thoughts will come, emotions will rise, events will happen. Stillness is simply the space in which these things appear and pass, without disturbing the core of who you are. Do you see, my dear one, how often we confuse action with life? We think that doing, achieving, planning, or worrying is living, but much of it is noise. Stillness teaches us that life is not only in the movement, but also in the quiet. It teaches us to observe without judgment, to witness without interference, to be present without distraction. And the beauty of it is that you do not have to leave the world to find it. Stillness lives in the middle of a crowded street, in the midst of a heated conversation, in the quiet space between heartbeats. It is always accessible, if only you remember to pause, to breathe, to notice. I once met an old woman who had lived a long life full of sorrow and joy, loss and gain, struggle and love. Her hands were wrinkled, her back bent, yet her eyes shone with a calm deeper than any ocean. I asked her, "How have you remained so peaceful through all the storms of life?" She laughed softly, a sound like a bell in the distance, and said, "I learned early that I could not stop the wind, but I could learn to sit in it. I could not control the river, but I could place my cup beneath it and let the water fill me without overflowing." Stillness is simple, my child, but it is the hardest thing to hold because the world tempts us to forget it. And so, we see that stillness is not a reward for age, nor a gift for the wise alone. It is a choice, a daily practice, a return home. Every time you take a breath, you can choose to touch it, to remember it, to enter it. Every time your mind races with worries about the past or fears of the future, you can return to the quiet stream inside you and rest there, even if only for a moment. Each moment of stillness strengthens your heart, clarifies your mind, and softens the edges of life that are often so harsh. There is a story about a bamboo grove, tall and swaying, bending with the wind but never breaking. A storm comes, howling and fierce. Trees that resist the wind snap. The bamboo bends and survives. In the same way, stillness does not resist life. It does not fight. It does not cling. It does not demand. It simply allows life to flow, to touch, to move. And in that allowance, it finds harmony. Stillness is strength, not weakness. Presence, not absence. Many people seek stillness in meditation, in silence, in retreats. These are good. These are helpful. But stillness is not confined to quiet rooms or sacred spaces. Stillness is in folding laundry without hurry, in drinking tea without distraction, in listening fully to a friend without thinking about your own words. Stillness is in the way the mind settles naturally when you stop pushing, when you stop grasping, when you stop chasing shadows. It is not complicated. It is forgotten. That is all. And yes, stillness is also a mirror. When you rest in it, you see yourself clearly. Not the self that is burdened with judgment or expectation, but the self that exists beneath all layers, the self that is simply aware, simply alive. In that mirror, you can watch emotions rise and fall, thoughts appear and disappear, the world unfold and shift, all without losing your center. The chaos may continue outside, the storms may rage, but inside, there is a calm, unshakable, eternal. I remember a young boy who came running to me, tears streaming, shouting about unfairness, about pain, about anger. He could not sit still. He could not breathe. I held his small hands in mine and whispered, "See this river. It does not hurry. It does not rage. It moves with life, quietly, steadily. Your heart is like this river. Even when you cry, even when you scream, even when you run, there is a part of you that is calm. Come back to it, slowly, gently with your breath." At first he laughed, thinking it silly. But after days, after weeks, he began to notice, to pause, to touch that stillness. And over time, the anger softened, the tears became quiet, the running slowed. He was not cured of life's challenges, but he found his center again. Stillness is not the absence of problems, not the escape from life. It is the embrace of what is without resistance. It is the understanding that life is not broken, not flawed, not wrong. Life moves in cycles, in rhythms, in patterns we may not understand. Stillness is the awareness that beneath these movements, beneath the noise, beneath the constant chatter, there is a soft, patient, unchanging presence that is always here, always waiting, always welcoming. Many struggle because they are afraid to stop. They fear what they will find in silence, in stillness. They fear the emptiness, the quiet, the mirror. But my friend, there is nothing to fear. Even the emptiness is a form of fullness, a space for life to breathe, a place for love to return, a garden for joy to grow. In stillness, you see the world more clearly. You hear the songs of birds, the laughter of children, the rustle of leaves, the heartbeat of life itself. All these were here before you noticed. All these are here when you are gone. Stillness is simply the recognition of this truth. Do not rush to reach it, and do not despair if you forget. Each breath, each step, each pause is an opportunity to remember. Sit with the feeling of your chest rising and falling. Notice the quiet between thoughts. Listen to the space between words. Rest in the knowing that you are here, alive, and that you are enough exactly as you are. This is the stillness that does not judge, does not demand, does not hurry. It is patience, it is love, it is freedom. And so, my dear one, as we end this moment together, carry this thought quietly in your heart. Stillness is not something to earn, not something to wait for, not something to search outside. It is always within. It is the gentle river under the raging storm, the moon behind the clouds, the calm breath beneath the racing mind. Touch it often, return to it daily, and in this touch, you will find a quiet courage, a steady joy, and a life that flows naturally, gracefully, and deeply, like water, like wind, like all that is. The art of letting go. Ah, my dear friend, sit beside me. Let us breathe together, slowly, quietly, like the soft wind passing through the pine trees. Today, we speak of letting go, not as a lesson or a rule, but as a gentle art, like the art of folding paper or arranging flowers, something you feel more than think. Many people fear letting go. They think it means giving up, losing, becoming empty. But my child, letting go is not loss. Letting go is freedom. It is the recognition that holding on too tightly only brings pain, and that life flows more beautifully when we allow it to move through us without clinging. I remember a man who came to me once, carrying grief like a heavy sack on his back. He had lost someone he loved dearly, and every morning, he held the memory so tightly that it pressed into his chest, making it hard to breathe. "Master," he said, "I cannot forget. I cannot let go. If I do, it will mean I have lost them forever, and my heart cannot bear that." I looked at him, and my eyes softened. "Ah," I said, "your heart is not empty because you let go. Your heart is heavy because you cling. Remember, the river flows, and if you try to hold the water in your hands, it only drips away and leaves your hands wet and trembling. Let go, and the river continues its way. Your love does not vanish. It becomes part of the river itself." He did not understand immediately, for understanding does not come all at once. Letting go is like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, your hands grasp the handlebars so tightly that your knuckles whiten, your arms ache, and the ride is wobbly and fearful. But slowly, when you loosen your grip, when you trust the path beneath you, when you allow balance to come naturally, the ride becomes smooth, even joyful. In the same way, letting go requires trust, not in others, not in circumstances, but in life itself, in the flow that carries everything, the visible and invisible, the joy and the sorrow, the gain and the loss. I often tell my students, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Holding on to pain, to fear, to regret, is like dragging a stone tied to your heart. Let go, and you will find your steps lighter, your heart softer, your mind calmer. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering without being imprisoned. Once, there was a small bird caught in a net. It flapped and flailed, fighting with all its strength. A kind soul came and untangled the net, but the bird, frightened, continued to struggle, thinking it was safer to cling to what it knew. Only when it stopped fighting, when it allowed the net to be removed and simply trusted, did it fly free. We are like that bird. Our habits, our fears, our attachments. These are nets we cling to, thinking they protect us, when in truth, they only bind us. Letting go is releasing the net, one careful movement at a time, until the sky is open and we can fly. Many people believe that letting go is sudden, a dramatic moment of cutting off, of walking away. But rarely is it like that. Most of the time, letting go is quiet, almost invisible. It is a soft sigh in the middle of the night, a small decision to stop arguing with the past, a moment when you stop saying yes to things that hurt you. It is gentle, it is patient, it is slow, and it is powerful. For when you release, even a little, you open space for life to enter, for joy to return, for love to flow in new ways. I remember a young woman who clung to disappointment like a blanket. She had failed in her work, been betrayed by friends, hurt by family, and she could not sleep because every night the past whispered in her ears. I told her, "Look at your hands. You carry so much that was never yours to hold. Let some of it go. Feel the space between your fingers. See the light around the things you release." Letting go is not giving up on yourself. It is giving yourself a chance to breathe. Slowly, over weeks and months, she began to understand. Not everything left her life. Some things faded, some returned differently, and she discovered that the act of releasing brought her closer to herself than clinging ever did. Life teaches us that attachment is the root of suffering. We attach to people, to outcomes, to possessions, to ideas, to identity itself, and when these inevitably change, we are thrown into pain. Letting go does not mean we stop loving, stop caring, or stop living. It means we loosen our grip. It means we recognize that all things are like leaves on a river. They arrive, they rest on the water for a while, and then they drift away. We can watch them, we can touch them, we can appreciate their color and shape, but we cannot stop them from moving. There is a story of a wise man who carried a basket of stones everywhere he went. Each stone represented a worry, a regret, a fear. One day, a child asked, "Why do you carry so many stones?" He answered, "Because they are mine." The child said, "But they are heavy. You do not need them." The man considered this, and slowly, he began placing the stones on the ground, one by one, until the basket was empty. And in that emptiness, he noticed a sky he had never seen, a breeze he had never felt, a song he had never heard. Letting go is like that, placing stones gently, one by one, until your hands are empty and your heart can rise. Sometimes, letting go is not about people or events at all. Sometimes, it is about ideas, habits, beliefs we no longer need, dreams that no longer serve us, expectations that weigh heavily on our souls. We resist these things because they feel like part of us, but often, they are like old clothes we no longer wear. And yet we carry them because we fear the cold. Let them go. Feel the lightness, the warmth of living in your own skin, uncluttered, unburdened, and free. And do not fear sadness. When you let go, sadness may rise like a wave, and that is natural. It is not weakness. It is cleansing. It is life moving through you, purifying, softening, making space for love, for peace, for beauty. Cry if you must. Sit if you must. Walk slowly if you must. Letting go honors the emotions, but does not let them chain you. Ah, my friend, letting go is not a task with an end. It is a practice, a dance with life. Some days we succeed, some days we forget, some days we stumble, but each moment of remembering is a victory. Each breath, each pause, Each choice to release is a step toward freedom. And the strange, beautiful truth is that the more we let go, the more we have. The more we release, the lighter we become. The more space we make, the more life fills us. The more we trust, the more we are held. So, in your daily life, notice the small things you clutch too tightly. The words spoken, the disappointments, the expectations, the tiny failures. One by one, place them gently on the ground. Watch them lie there. Feel the space in your chest expand. Listen to the quiet that grows between the sounds of your thoughts. Smile softly at the release and breathe. Letting go is the simplest thing and the hardest, but it is also the most loving act you can do for yourself. Remember always, my dear one, that letting go is not emptying, it is opening. It is not losing, it is receiving. It is not forgetting, it is understanding. It is not weakness, it is strength. And in this strength, in this gentle, quiet practice, you will find a peace deeper than any calm outside, a joy freer than any pleasure outside, a love more enduring than any attachment. Life moves, my friend. Time flows. People come, people go. Seasons change, winds shift. Cling not, for the grip itself is what causes the ache. Trust, release, breathe, and notice how the world continues to hold you, gently, softly, as you learn the art of letting go, embracing the flow of life. Sit with me a while, my friend, and let us speak of life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be, not as we imagine it, but as it quietly moves like a river under moonlight, carrying everything, resisting nothing, simply flowing. Many people live as if life is a puzzle to solve, as if every moment must be held, controlled, understood. And yet life, in its deepest truth, is not something to solve. It is something to feel, to notice, to move with. You see, the more we try to grasp, the more we stumble, the more we clutch at the water, the more it slips through our fingers. But when we embrace the flow, when we allow ourselves to float along, something magical happens. We find that the current does not push us into harm. It does not abandon us. It carries us quietly, steadily, to where we need to be. I once saw an old monk, bent with age, walking along a mountain path. His steps were slow, deliberate, yet there was no hesitation, no fear. A young traveler asked him, "Master, how do you move so calmly through this path when it is full of stones, of roots, of danger?" The monk smiled, his eyes crinkling. "I do not move against the path," he said. "I move with it. If a stone appears, I step around it. If a root catches my foot, I adjust. I do not fight what is. I do not resist. I am part of the path, and the path is part of me. Life is like this, my child. Embrace it, do not resist it, and you will walk lightly, even when the road is difficult. We often think that we must plan every step, that we must have answers before we ask the questions. But life is not a series of questions and answers. It is a series of moments, each one unfolding into the next. Sometimes the river turns, and we do not understand why. Sometimes a storm comes, and we are drenched, chilled to the bone, shivering. But the river continues, and eventually the sun returns, warming the stones, drying our clothes, softening our hearts. To embrace the flow is not to abandon reason, not to ignore responsibility, but to recognize that control is an illusion and resistance is a burden. I remember a young man, eager and restless, who came to me, burdened by worry about the future. He wanted certainty, a map, a guarantee that everything would go well. I took him to a stream nearby and said, "Throw a leaf into the water." He did. "Now," I said, "try to hold it there. Force it to stay. Stop it from moving." He laughed, confused. I cannot, Master. It moves. Exactly, I said. The leaf is not yours. The river does not belong to you. But if you let it go, if you trust the movement, you will see it travel, dance, touch the stones, reflect the sun. So too with life. Let go of the need to hold everything, and you will see the beauty, the connection, the journey itself. Many people are afraid of the unknown, and who can blame them? The unknown is vast, shadowed, unpredictable. But it is in the unknown that life breathes. It is in uncertainty that growth happens, that understanding unfolds, that love deepens. To fight the unknown is to exhaust oneself. To embrace it is to awaken. Think of a tree in winter. Its branches seem empty, its leaves gone, its purpose hidden. Yet beneath the surface, life is moving. Roots are drinking water. Sap is flowing. The core is alive. When spring comes, buds appear, blossoms unfold, fruit is born. So it is with us. Even when we cannot see the way, even when we feel lost, life flows through us. To embrace it is to trust that the unseen will reveal itself in time. There are days when the flow feels gentle, and we glide along easily, smiling at the wind, touching the flowers, laughing at the sunlight. And there are days when the flow feels violent, tossing us, turning us, testing every fiber of our being. We might cry, we might scream, we might stumble and fall. And yet, in all this, the flow continues unjudging, patient, nurturing. We must remember, my friend, that life is not against us. The storm is not a punishment. The river does not punish the leaf. The leaf's journey is simply the journey, and ours is ours. I tell my students often, do not cling to the smooth water. Do not fear the rough water. Embrace both, and you will understand the river. One day, a young woman said to me, "But Master, the rough water hurts. It sweeps me, it breaks me. How can I embrace this?" I looked at her softly and said, "Ah yes, it hurts. But see, even in the breaking, there is learning. Even in the sweeping, there is movement. Even in the struggle, there is strength. Embrace it, and the water teaches you more than calm ever could." To embrace life is to be willing to feel all of it, without clinging to the easy, without resisting the hard. We forget, so often, that life is alive. We treat it as a series of tasks, a list of achievements, a line to be crossed. And yet, life is not a list. Life is a dance, a song, a rhythm. The moments come and go like notes in a melody, sometimes loud, sometimes soft, sometimes dissonant, sometimes harmonious. To embrace the flow is to hear the music, even when the notes are jarring, even when the rhythm surprises us. And when we listen, truly listen, we find that the song is beautiful, even with its mistakes, even with its pauses, even with its silences. I have walked many paths, some smooth, some thorny, some slippery with moss. I have seen the wind carry clouds across mountains, rain fall softly on fields, snow settle quietly in valleys. And I have realized that the way to live is not to push against what is, not to demand what should be, but to move with what is, to adjust with care, to breathe with awareness, to walk with kindness, to speak with gentleness. The flow of life does not wait, does not hurry. It simply is. And when we align ourselves with it, even just a little, our steps become lighter, our minds calmer, our hearts wider. Embracing the flow does not mean that we stop caring, that we stop loving, or that we stop trying. It means we accept that outcomes are not entirely ours, that change is constant, that people, circumstances, and feelings shift like clouds in the sky. We do our part, with full attention, with integrity, with compassion, and then we release. We release the worry, the expectation, the need to control. And in that release, we discover freedom. We discover joy. We discover that the river carries us, even when we cannot see where it goes. Sometimes, the flow will take us to people we love. Sometimes to places we did not imagine. Sometimes to lessons that are bitter. Sometimes to joys that surprise us. And all of it, each piece, is part of the dance. We cannot choose the river's path, but we can choose to float, to move with awareness, to watch the reflections, to feel the water on our skin, to notice the stones beneath our feet. We can surrender to the journey, without fear, without grasping, without resistance. And remember, my dear friend, that embracing the flow is not about perfection. You will stumble. You will falter. You will sometimes cling and resist. That is part of the journey. Be gentle with yourself. Smile at your mistakes. Learn from them. Each moment is an invitation to return to the river, to float again, to trust again, to feel again. Life is patient. Life is forgiving. Life is here, and it is yours to embrace, one breath, one step, one moment at a time. So walk, my friend. Walk lightly, breathe deeply. Notice the stones, the flowers, the wind. Listen to the laughter of the river, the whisper of the leaves, the song of the birds. Let the flow carry you, teach you, shape you. Do not resist. Do not push. Move with care, with awareness, with openness. Embrace the flow of life, and you will discover that even in uncertainty, even in change, even in the unknown, there is a grace, a beauty, a peace that has been waiting for you all along. The gentle art of letting go. Sit with me, my friend, and let us speak quietly about something we all struggle with, though we rarely admit it. We struggle with holding on. We hold on to our fears, our anger, our regrets, our memories, our pain, our expectations of ourselves and others. We clutch these things as if letting go will mean losing a part of ourselves. But in truth, holding on too tightly is what keeps us from being fully alive. I want to tell you, in the simplest way I know, that there is freedom in letting go. Not the kind that abandons responsibility or dulls the heart, but the kind that opens you to life, that softens your mind, that allows your spirit to breathe. I remember a young man who came to me many years ago, weighed down by grief and disappointment. He carried it as if it were a heavy stone, pressing into his chest with every step he took. He said to me, "Master, I cannot let go. If I let go, I will forget. And if I forget, I will betray the love and the lessons I have lived." I looked at him gently, and I said, "Ah, my child, the stone you carry is not a reminder of love or lessons. It is a wall between you and life itself. To remember does not require holding on. To learn does not require gripping tightly. The river does not cling to the mountains it passes. It flows, and in flowing, it nourishes everything it touches. Holding on is a habit, subtle and quiet. We hold on to anger at someone who hurt us, believing that carrying it will protect us, that it will somehow give us power. We hold on to guilt for the mistakes we made, thinking it will teach us, punish us, or make us better. We hold on to fear of the future, imagining that worrying will somehow make us safe. And yet, all this holding is heavy, and it does not protect, it does not teach, it does not prepare us. It only binds our hearts, dims our minds, and makes the world smaller than it is. Letting go is not forgetting. Letting go is not denying what happened. It is seeing clearly what is true, what is alive, and what can be. Imagine a bird perched on your shoulder. You hold it tightly, afraid it will fly away. Its wings are pressed, it struggles, it cannot sing. But if you open your hands, Let it perch lightly or even lift off entirely. You will see it soar, you will hear its song, and in its freedom, you feel your own. This is the essence of letting go. It is not loss, it is liberation. I once taught a student who could not forgive herself. Every mistake, every word spoken too harshly, every opportunity missed, she stored like treasures in a chest of shame. She came to me and said, "Master, I cannot release this. If I do, I will become careless. I will repeat the errors." I said to her, "Look at the sun. It rises and sets without regret, without clinging to the night that passed or the clouds that covered it. The sun does not hold on, yet it illuminates all things, warming life, giving light. You too must rise each day, release the shadows of yesterday, and shine. Your past does not define the beauty of today." It is strange how natural letting go feels once we try. Our minds resist at first, like water pressed into a tight fist. But slowly, with patience, the fingers relax, the water flows, the mind softens, the heart expands. Letting go is not an event. It is a process, a gentle unfolding, like petals opening at dawn. And in that process, we discover that the world is not threatening, that loss is not final, that love and joy do not vanish when we release, but rather they deepen. Many people think that letting go is weakness. If I let go, they say, I will be broken, I will be lost, I will become nothing. And I say, no, my child. Letting go is strength. It takes courage to unclench the fists, to release what we have held so tightly, to face the unknown without a wall between us and life. It is in the surrender that we find our true power. It is in the softening that we become resilient. Let me tell you about a river I once watched from a hilltop. The river carried logs, leaves, mud, even the occasional lost animal. I watched it struggle against a fallen branch, and then I noticed it adjust, bend, flow around, carry what it could, release what it could not. Nothing in the river's path remained a burden. Everything was moved, shifted, and eventually, all things became part of the greater current. The river never held on, yet it held everything gently, purposefully, without clinging, without anger, without fear. This is the way of life. This is the art of letting go. We cling to expectations, to the way we think life should unfold. We hold tight to people, believing they must stay, must love, must behave as we wish. We clutch ideas, plans, and identities, afraid that release means chaos, instability, loss. And yet, the more we grasp, the more brittle our world becomes. The more we let go, the more flexible, the more flowing, the more alive we become. Letting go is not giving up. It is opening up. It is making room for what is, for what comes, for what can be. Think of a tree in autumn. It does not resist the falling leaves. It allows them to drift, to touch the ground, to become part of the earth. It does not despair. It does not fight. And yet, when spring arrives, new leaves emerge, stronger and more vibrant than before. Letting go is the same. We release what is old, what is worn, what no longer serves us. And in that release, we invite renewal, growth, and life itself. Sometimes, letting go is easy. Sometimes it is terrifying. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it shakes us to the core. Sometimes it comes slowly, like a gentle exhale. Sometimes it arrives in a rush, like a storm that sweeps us bare. And in every way, it teaches us. It teaches us patience. It teaches us love. It teaches us trust. It teaches us the courage to face ourselves fully, tenderly, without illusion, without pretense. I have seen people release their grudges and find laughter. I have seen people release their guilt and find compassion. I have seen people release their fear and find courage. And each time, I see the same miracle. Life opens, heart opens, mind softens, and the weight we thought was ours is no longer pressing, no longer confining, no longer defining. Letting go is not a loss. It is the beginning of something more. We must also understand that letting go is not a single act, but a lifetime practice. Each day, we let go of a little. A thought, a worry, a memory, a plan. Each day, we release what does not serve us and make space for what can. It is gentle, gradual, and endless. It is like the tide, coming in and going out, leaving the sand smooth, leaving the shells scattered, leaving the beach renewed. Remember, my dear friend, that holding on is natural. The mind will resist, the heart will cling. And that is okay. We meet ourselves where we are, gently, with kindness. We do not push, we do not judge. We observe, we breathe, we open, and slowly, the fingers loosen. Slowly, the heart softens. Slowly, the mind breathes. And in this gentle practice, we discover freedom. Not the kind of freedom that demands escape, but the freedom to be fully here, fully alive, fully ourselves. Letting go is love in its purest form. Love that does not bind, love that does not control, love that simply allows, that sees, that understands, that trusts. Letting go is peace, not because the world has changed, but because we have. Letting go is joy, not because circumstances are perfect, but because our hearts are open. Letting go is life, not as we command it, but as it truly is, moving, flowing, teaching, carrying, holding, and releasing us gently, always, always gently. So, my friend, walk lightly through the days ahead. Carry what serves you. Release what is not. Watch your thoughts, your fears, your memories, your plans. Notice what clings. Notice what slips, and gently, without haste or judgment, let it go. Feel the weight lift from your shoulders, from your chest, from your spirit. Notice how the world opens when you release, how the heart opens when you trust, how the river of life carries you when you unclench your hands. Finding peace in the midst of chaos. Sit quietly for a moment, my friend, and breathe with me. Feel your chest rise and fall, slowly, gently, as if the breath itself is a soft hand brushing over your heart. Today, we speak about something many people fear, something that feels impossible to master. Finding peace in the midst of chaos. Life, as you know, is not gentle or predictable. It does not wait for us to be ready, and it does not slow down when we are tired or overwhelmed. Chaos arrives like an uninvited guest, loud, messy, demanding, and often frightening. But the truth, my dear friend, is that peace is not something outside that chaos. Peace is something within you, something that can exist even when the world around you spins like a stormy sea. I remember a young woman who came to me many years ago. Her hands trembled, and her eyes were wide, as if they had seen too much. She said, "Master, everything in my life is falling apart. My work is unbearable. My family demands more than I can give. My mind never stops racing. I cannot breathe. I cannot sleep. How can there be peace when my world is so loud, so chaotic?" I looked at her gently and said, "Ah, my child, the storm is fierce, yes, but you are not the storm. You are the sky. You do not need to fight the wind or the rain to find calm. You only need to remember who you truly are. The wind may howl, the rain may pour, but the sky remains vast and clear, beyond the reach of every storm." Most people believe that peace is a place, a quiet room, a serene garden, a vacation far from responsibilities. But peace is not a location. It is a state of being. It is a garden within, cultivated quietly, patiently, over time. Even when the outside is noisy, even when events clash and collide, the inner garden can bloom if we tend it with attention and care. This is why meditation, mindfulness, and simply observing your thoughts are not just practices. They are lifelines. They remind you that chaos is temporary, that you are more than the circumstances you face, and that your inner life is yours to hold gently. I recall a man who worked in a busy market, surrounded by shouting, bargaining, and clattering goods. Every day, he returned home exhausted, angry, and on edge. He asked me, "Master, how can I find peace when everything around me is so loud? How can I breathe when the world seems to crush me?" I smiled and told him, "Peace is not the absence of noise, my child. Peace is the presence of awareness. You do not need to wait for silence to arrive. Notice the sound of the market as it is, without judgment, without fear, without wanting it to be different. In that noticing, your mind begins to soften. The chaos remains, but your relationship to it changes. You are no longer carried away by every shout. You are anchored, calm, present. Chaos teaches, though many do not see it. Every difficulty, every unexpected challenge, every loud argument, and every sudden change is a teacher if we allow it. The lessons are simple but profound. Life is impermanent, control is an illusion, attachment creates suffering, and our inner world is the only place we can cultivate true freedom. When a student once came to me complaining endlessly about the unfairness of life, I asked him, "Do you see the river?" He said, "Yes, master. I see it flowing." I said, "Does the river fight the rocks? Does it resist the currents?" "No, it flows, bends, and continues, and in that flowing, it nourishes all along its path. So too must you learn to flow, even when life seems to push and pull you in ways you do not wish." Many people confuse peace with passivity. They think that if they seek calm, they must avoid conflict, retreat from responsibilities, or shut their eyes to the troubles around them. This is not so. True peace is not avoidance. It is presence. It is the ability to engage fully, to act wisely, to love deeply, and to move with clarity, even when the world is messy. The Zen mind does not flinch at chaos. It meets it gently, observes it, learns from it, and allows it to pass without clinging. I remember a time when a great storm struck our village. The wind was wild, the rain relentless. People ran, shouted, and struggled to protect their homes. I sat quietly by the riverbank, watching the water rise, feeling the wind on my face, listening to the rain on the rooftops. A student approached, trembling, and said, "Master, how can you be so calm? The storm will destroy everything." I told him, "I am calm because the storm is not outside me. It is a part of the world, yes, but it is not my mind. My heart does not need to fight it. My heart only needs to observe, to adapt, to move with it. In this way, we are never defeated, never overwhelmed, never lost." Peace in chaos is not built on denial. It is not built on pretending life is gentle when it is not. It is built on acceptance, on recognition, on a deep and unwavering understanding that the universe is vast, changeable, and unpredictable. When you accept this, you no longer resist the current, no longer struggle against the tide. You swim with grace, even when the waves threaten to overturn you. I have seen students who could not find peace until they learned to laugh in the middle of chaos. A child screaming, a bus late, a meeting collapsing, a plan ruined. These are not punishments, my child. They are reminders that life is alive, dynamic, and beyond our control. And when we laugh, even quietly, even just in our mind, we remind ourselves that control is an illusion, that fear is optional, that life is happening, and we are here to notice it, to feel it, and to move with it. The practice of finding peace in chaos begins simply. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice the sensations, the sounds, the feelings, the thoughts. Allow them to be, without judgment, without demand. Slowly, gently, your mind stops grasping. Your heart softens. Your perspective shifts. You realize that the chaos does not define you. It does not own you. You are more than the noise, more than the struggle, more than the fleeting drama of everyday life. You are the quiet observer, the calm presence, the steady mind in a storm. I have taught many people this, and I have watched the transformation. A mother tending to her children, a worker in a noisy office, a traveler lost on a dark road. They all discovered that peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of awareness. It is not the absence of challenge, but the ability to respond without being swept away. It is not silence around you, but clarity within you. Even when the world feels like it is breaking apart, even when people are unkind, even when plans fail and hopes falter, the inner garden of peace can remain. It may require tending, watering, patience, and forgiveness, but it can bloom in the harshest of conditions. The petals may be small, the fragrance faint at first, but it is there, and it grows stronger each day. And so, my friend, I say to you, embrace the storm. Notice it, feel it, learn from it, and through it all, remember the stillness within. It is quiet, yes, but it is alive. It is vast, but it is accessible. It is patient, but it is powerful. You carry it with you, always. You may forget, you may stumble, you may be swept away temporarily, but the calm is never lost. It waits, as all things wait, for you to return, for you to breathe, for you to open your eyes and see that peace has been there all along. When life rages around you, remember the river, the sky, the garden within. Let the wind touch you. Let the rain cleanse you. Let the sounds and struggles remind you that you are alive, that you are present, and that you are more than every circumstance. Peace is not outside. Peace is not somewhere you must search endlessly. Peace is here, within, waiting for you to notice it, waiting for you to rest in it, waiting for you to carry it into the world, even when it feels chaotic, messy, and impossible. In this way, my child, we learn that peace is not a destination. It is a companion. It is a friend walking beside us through every storm, every confusion, every heartbreak, every joy. It is steady, gentle, heart-touching, always there. If we will only see it, breathe it, and live it fully, even when the world shakes around us. This is the way of the Zen heart in the midst of chaos. This is the quiet that endures. This is life, alive, present, flowing, gentle, and free. Letting go of what you cannot control. Come, sit with me a while. Feel the ground beneath you, solid and steady, as if it holds not only your body but your very being. Let your shoulders relax, even if just a little. Today, we speak of something that most people struggle with all their lives. Letting go of what cannot be controlled. Many of us cling, do we not? We cling to outcomes, to people, to the way we think life should be. And when life does not bend to our will, our hearts break, our minds churn, and we suffer unnecessarily. Letting go is not giving up, my dear friend. It is a deeper kind of strength, a surrender that does not weaken but frees. I remember a student who came to me long ago, her eyes filled with worry. She said, "Master, I cannot let go. I am afraid if I release my grip on my work, my family, my expectations, everything will collapse. I will be nothing, and life will swallow me." I smiled gently and told her, Ah, my child, do you see the tree outside? It does not try to hold the wind. It does not try to stop the rain. Yet it remains standing through every season. Its roots are strong. Its branches are flexible. It lets go of the leaves when the time comes, and in letting go, it does not perish. It grows stronger. You too must learn the art of letting go. Most people misunderstand control. They think control means security, safety, certainty. But in truth, control is an illusion. The mind wants it, the heart clings to it, and yet the world will always move beyond our grasp. A child grows, a loved one changes, health may waver, opportunities may vanish. All of these are beyond our power. Yet, when we try to force life to conform to our expectations, we suffer twice. Once for the thing we cannot have, and again for our resistance to reality. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who owned a small boat. Every day, he rowed on the river, tending his nets, catching what he could. One season, the rains came early, and the river swelled beyond measure. The boat rocked, water splashed, and the man clung tightly to the oars. But no matter how he held on, the current was stronger. Finally, exhausted, he released his grip, allowing the boat to float with the water. And then, he noticed something remarkable. By letting go, he could steer with less struggle, move with the river instead of against it, and find places of safety he could never have reached while resisting. Life, my friend, is like that river. We cannot command it, but we can learn to flow with it. Letting go is also about releasing our expectations of others. How often do we suffer because someone did not act as we hoped, did not respond as we wished, or did not meet our invisible standards? You may think it is their responsibility to behave in ways that please you, but in truth, that is a burden you place on yourself. Every person is a river, flowing according to their own nature. When you try to dam their flow, you only create frustration and disappointment. But when you release the desire to control them, when you see them as they are, with compassion and acceptance, peace begins to settle within you. I once taught a young man who was desperate to make his parents proud. No matter what he did, he felt it was never enough. His heart ached, his mind raced, and he could not find rest. I said to him, "You can plant seeds, you can water them, you can give them sunlight, but you cannot make them grow according to your wishes. The growth belongs to life, not to your hands. Do your part, release the rest, and you will find freedom." He did not understand at first, but slowly, with practice, he began to let go of his need to control their approval. And in that release, he discovered a quiet joy he had never known. Letting go also means releasing your attachment to outcomes. Perhaps you are working toward a goal, dreaming of a future, hoping for a certain result. There is nothing wrong with ambition, nothing wrong with hope, but suffering arises when you cling so tightly that the present moment loses its meaning. You are alive now, in this breath, in this heart, and yet you sacrifice it for a future that may never come. To let go of the outcome does not mean abandoning your effort. It means giving your best, and then releasing the need to dictate how the results must appear. The tree does not force the fruit to ripen on schedule, yet it blooms, and the fruit comes in its time. You too must bloom where you are planted and trust life to bring the harvest. Fear often binds us more tightly than desire. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of change. These are the chains that hold the mind and heart captive. Letting go is the courage to face fear, to see that the wind may blow, the river may rise, and yet you remain present, aware, steady. When a student once asked me, trembling, "What if I let go and fall?" I said, The mind always imagines falling, but watch the birds. They let go of the branch, and they fly. Letting go does not mean falling. It can mean soaring. Letting go is also about self-compassion. Many people cling to guilt, to regret, to shame. They replay mistakes endlessly, wishing they could change the past, wishing they had been different. But the past is like water that has already flowed downstream. You cannot retrieve it, you cannot control it, and yet you can learn from it. Forgive yourself gently, my child. Release the heavy stones in your heart, and allow the river of life to carry you forward lighter, freer, more alive. I remember a woman who could not forgive herself for a choice she had made years ago. She carried it like a burden, like a stone pressing down on her chest. She came to me one day, tears falling silently, and said, "Master, I cannot move past this. I feel trapped." I held her hand and said, "You cannot erase the river that has already flowed, but you can float on it. You can navigate it. Let go of the weight you carry. Let go, not because you deserve it, but because you are human, because your heart deserves peace." Slowly, over months, she began to release her grip, and in that release, a lightness entered her life, a sense of freedom she had never known. To let go is not simple. It is a practice, a gentle, persistent act of mindfulness and courage. Begin with small things. The cup that slips from your fingers, the plan that changes unexpectedly, the conversation that did not go as you wished. Notice your resistance. Breathe. Allow it to pass. Each time you release, even in the smallest ways, your heart grows stronger, your mind grows quieter, and your soul remembers its true nature. Even the most challenging situations can teach the art of letting go. A storm, a loss, a disappointment, a heartbreak. These are teachers if we will only observe without clinging. Watch the waves rise and fall. Watch the wind scatter leaves. Watch the sun set and rise again. Nothing is permanent. Nothing remains as it is. And when you surrender to this impermanence, when you release your grip on the illusion of control, you find a strange and wonderful peace that does not depend on circumstances. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop trying. It does not mean you stop loving. It means you act with wisdom, with awareness, with compassion, and then release the need to force outcomes, to dictate paths, or to cling to what is not yours to hold. Life flows more gently when the hands are open rather than closed, when the heart trusts rather than demands, when the mind observes rather than grasps. So, my friend, practice this daily. Notice where your hands are clenched, where your mind is grasping, where your heart is holding tightly to what cannot be controlled. Breathe. Release slowly, gently. Trust that the river of life will carry you, that the winds will guide you, that the storms will pass, and that your roots are deep enough to remain strong no matter what arrives. In letting go, you discover freedom. In letting go, you discover joy that is not contingent on circumstances. In letting go, you discover the quiet, steady, heart-touching presence that is your true self, always waiting, always near, always ready to embrace you, no matter what comes, no matter what changes, no matter what flows beyond your grasp. Embracing impermanence with a gentle heart. Sit with me, just for a while, and let your breathing slow. Feel each inhale and exhale as though the world itself were breathing with you. Today, we speak of impermanence, the quiet truth that touches everything, yet is often so hard to accept. Most people spend their lives pretending that things will stay the same, clinging to moments, to people, to feelings, as if they could capture them in their hands and keep them forever. But life, my dear friend, is not meant to be held tightly. It flows like a river, endlessly moving, carrying us along with its gentle and sometimes fierce current. I remember a student who once asked me, "Master, why does everything I love always change? Why do people leave? Why do seasons pass? Why does my heart ache?" I looked at her, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and I said, "It is because you are alive, and life itself is change. The sun rises and sets, the flowers bloom and wither, the wind comes and goes. If you try to hold any of it, you will suffer, for nothing stays the same. To embrace life, you must embrace its impermanence." We often forget, in our daily rush, that everything we see, everything we touch, every feeling we experience is temporary. A smile from a friend, a warm cup of tea, the gentle light of morning, all will fade. And yet, if we try to cling to them, we lose the beauty of the moment. There is a subtle sweetness in noticing things as they are, fleeting and precious. When you let go of the desire to make them permanent, they become more alive, more vivid, more tender. It is in their passing that they shine. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, in a village surrounded by mountains, there was a teacher who carried a small bell. Each morning, he would walk through the village, letting the bell ring gently. People loved the sound, and some would try to follow him, hoping the bell would always stay with them, that the music would never end. One day, a child asked the teacher, "Why do you let the bell move on? Why not keep it here where we can hear it always?" The teacher smiled and said, "The bell must travel just as life travels. Its sound is beautiful because it moves, not because it stays. To hold it would silence its song, and you would miss the music of now." The impermanence of life touches every part of our experience, even our own selves. Our bodies change, our minds grow weary, our emotions ebb and flow. We try to resist, we try to fight aging, illness, disappointment, but all of it moves as the wind moves the leaves. Letting go of resistance is not surrendering to weakness. It is stepping into a deeper strength, a strength that comes from knowing that life cannot be stopped, only witnessed, only embraced with a gentle heart. I once met a man who was haunted by loss. He had loved deeply, and when that love ended, he felt as though his world had crumbled. He could not eat, could not sleep, could not smile. I told him, "Do you see the river over there? It does not mourn the stones it carries, nor the fish that swim away. It moves on, always present, always flowing. Your heart is like the river. Do not resist the change, for in accepting the flow, you will find a quiet strength you never knew." Slowly, over months, he began to notice the small moments, the sunlight on his hands, the laughter of children in the street, the scent of rain on the earth. And though his sorrow did not vanish, it became lighter, more bearable, and he began to live again. Impermanence also teaches us compassion. When we remember that everyone we meet is changing, struggling, facing their own river of time, our hearts soften. We judge less, we argue less, we listen more. Even when someone hurts us, if we remember that they are impermanent, like us, shaped by circumstances and fleeting emotions, we find space for understanding. To hold on to anger is to hold on to a moment that has already passed. To release it is to honor the impermanence that binds us all. Think of a leaf falling from a tree. It does not resist the wind. It does not fear the ground. It dances with the air. It touches the earth. And in its passing, it nourishes the soil for new life. So it is with us. Each moment, each encounter, each joy, and each sorrow is like that leaf, precious because it passes. To embrace impermanence is to learn to dance with life, to let go of fear, to touch each moment fully, without grasping, without clinging. Even our thoughts and memories are impermanent. Often, we replay the past, wishing it were different, holding grudges, or clinging to old joys. But memories shift, they fade, they transform. To suffer endlessly over what was is to ignore the present, the only true reality we have. Observe your thoughts as clouds moving across the sky. They come, they linger, they fade. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. The sky does not cling to them, nor does it fight them. It simply is, and so must we learn to be. Children, too, remind us of impermanence. Watch a child play for a while. Watch their laughter. Watch their tears. One moment, they cling to you for comfort. The next, they are racing ahead, chasing a butterfly, curious and free. If you try to hold them in the moment, you will only frustrate both yourself and them. But if you embrace the flow, you see the beauty of each fleeting second. And your love grows not from possession, but from presence. Impermanence is not only about sorrow or loss, it is also about joy. A flower blooms today and may wither tomorrow, but its beauty is all the more radiant because it is brief. The warmth of a friend's hand, the softness of a breeze, the laughter shared over a simple meal. All are precious because they will not last. To embrace impermanence is to embrace the gift of the present fully, deeply, with a heart wide open, aware that every moment is a treasure. And so, my dear one, practice daily. Notice the impermanence in the small things. The taste of your food, the shifting light of the room, the passing expressions on the faces you see. Notice it in the larger things. The changing seasons, the passing of years, the ebb and flow of your own life. Let each awareness be a gentle reminder to soften your grip, to open your hands, to release control, to live with a heart that is tender and awake. Impermanence can be frightening at first. The mind resists it, the heart clings to the illusion of permanence, and the ego struggles against the flow. But if you practice gently, persistently, you begin to notice a strange and wondrous freedom. You no longer need to force life into your expectations. You no longer need to clutch moments, people, or feelings in a futile attempt to make them last. You can meet each day as it comes, with openness, with curiosity, with love, with a quiet strength that only comes from accepting what is. To embrace impermanence is to embrace life itself. It is to see the world as it is, to feel deeply, to love fully, to grieve honestly, and to rejoice without hesitation. It is to live with a gentle heart, aware that nothing stays, and in that awareness, finding everything. And so, my friend, let your heart be like the river, like the sky, like the falling leaf. Let it move, let it flow, let it change. In every breath, every heartbeat, every fleeting moment, you are alive. You are part of the dance of impermanence. And in that dance, there is a deep and touching peace, waiting always for you to notice, waiting always for you to embrace. The last step, finding peace in the flow. Sit with me, just a moment, and breathe slowly, as though the air itself carries a quiet song meant only for you. Here, at the end of our journey together, I want you to feel the gentle weight of everything we have spoken about, every small truth, every story, every tender reminder that life is moving, that it is fragile, and yet endlessly beautiful. We have walked through the lessons of letting go, of embracing change, of noticing the subtle heartbeat of existence, and now, here at the last step, I wish to share with you the softest understanding, one that is neither hurried nor forced, but waits patiently for your heart to notice. Life, my dear one, is not a puzzle to solve, nor a mountain to conquer. It is more like a river, flowing steadily through valleys and over rocks, sometimes quiet, sometimes roaring, always moving. You have learned to observe it, to feel its rhythm, to understand that each moment is fleeting and yet complete. And now, The river of our words and stories comes to a gentle bend, a place where we pause, and you might wonder, what do I take with me from here? What remains when the teaching ends? The answer is simple, and yet it is not simple at all. It is that you carry it in your own heart, in your breath, in the way you notice the sunlight on your hands or the warmth of another's smile. I remember a student who came to me long ago, weary and burdened, feeling as if life were a series of storms, each one more fierce than the last. She asked, "Master, will it ever get easier? Will I ever feel calm?" I looked at her eyes, soft with the weight of many sleepless nights, and I said, "Calm is not the absence of storms, little one. Calm is standing in the rain and letting it touch you, letting it pass through you, and still feeling the ground beneath your feet." Over time, she learned to listen to the quiet moments, to the small wonders that often go unnoticed. A bird singing just before dawn, the gentle sway of a tree in the wind, the laughter of a child that starts as a whisper and grows into a song. And in those moments, she discovered that peace is not something to chase. It is something to receive, again and again, like the soft caress of morning light. As we reach this final part, I want you to understand the beauty of your own impermanence. You are changing, always, moment by moment, and this is not something to fear. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your relationships, all flow like water. And when you embrace that flow instead of resisting it, you discover a freedom that is deeper than you imagined. It is a gentle freedom, like exhaling after holding your breath too long, like letting a hand release a stone into a stream and watching it skip and sink, knowing you cannot hold it, yet appreciating its journey. Do you see, my friend, how all the small lessons we've shared lead to this quiet understanding? Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you cease to feel love or joy or even sorrow. It means that you touch life fully, without the desperation to keep it, without the fear of losing it. Life will give you moments of laughter and moments of tears, moments of love and moments of parting. And in all of them, there is a gentle invitation. Notice, feel, accept, and then release. The release is not emptiness. It is space, space for new wonders, new moments, new beauty to enter. I often tell my students that the smallest things are the most profound. A cup of tea shared quietly with someone who listens, the way your own hands feel warm when you cup them around a bowl, the way the wind moves through the trees and touches your face. These are the treasures that remain when everything else fades. They are the reminders that life is alive, even in its impermanence. And as you walk forward from this place, remember that the lessons are not lost. They are woven into the way you breathe, the way you look, the way you touch the world. There is a story I would like to leave with you, one that has guided many before you. Once, a traveler came to a mountain path, unsure where it led. Each step seemed uncertain, and the traveler feared making a mistake. A Zen teacher appeared and simply said, "Step and notice. Step and notice." And so the traveler walked, one foot after the other, paying attention to the stones, the moss, the sunlight on the path. Sometimes the feet stumbled, sometimes the heart wavered, but with each step, awareness grew, and soon, the path became less frightening, more like an old friend guiding the traveler forward. Life is such a path, my friend. Take it slowly, notice deeply, and step with care, knowing that each step is enough. Even now, as we close this chapter together, you may feel uncertainty. You may wonder if you have understood, if you are ready, if the calm will truly last. These doubts are not obstacles. They are part of the dance. Each doubt, each question, each hesitation is like a ripple on a pond, moving and changing. Do not fight it. Do not fear it. Watch it, feel it, let it pass. And in the passing, notice the still water beneath, the place that is always quiet, always present, always you. I want to speak to you about hope, too, my dear one. Hope is not a loud proclamation, nor a desperate grasping for what might be. Hope is quiet. Hope is noticing the first light of morning after a long night. It is the soft bloom of a flower in a garden you almost forgot to tend. It is the gentle smile that comes unexpectedly when you feel most weary. Hope is the knowledge that no matter how fierce the storms, no matter how heavy the grief, there is always a return to this simple truth. You are here alive and able to notice, to breathe, to love, to be. Hope is the breath itself, and as long as you breathe, there is possibility. I want you to remember that you are enough. You do not have to fix everything. You do not have to hold everything. You do not have to understand everything. Being present, being gentle with yourself, being aware of the simple wonders around you, that is already enough. The mountains do not rush, the rivers do not complain, the wind does not hurry, and so too, you may move at your own pace, without judgment, without fear. Each moment is a chance to be alive, fully and softly. And that is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And as you step from here, take with you this gentle encouragement. Carry the lessons lightly, not as burdens, but as whispers of wisdom. Let them remind you to soften, to notice, to open your hands and heart. Let them guide you to embrace life as it is, not as you wish it to be, knowing that every encounter, every joy, every sorrow is a teacher, a friend, a passing star in the sky of your days. I will leave you with one last thought, a final reflection for your heart to hold. Life is not meant to be rushed, not meant to be forced, not meant to be weighed down with endless striving. It is to be touched, to be felt, to be lived. Even in endings, there is a beginning. Even in loss, there is a gift. Even in silence, there is a voice, and it is calling you home to yourself, to your own quiet presence, to the gentle rhythm of your own being. So, my dear one, breathe slowly, carry these words softly, and step into the world with a heart that is open, tender, and aware. Walk your path with care. Notice the little miracles that surround you, and let impermanence, love, hope, and kindness guide each step. The journey does not end. It simply moves forward, with you, fully present, fully alive. And in that living, in that noticing, in that simple, soft attention to what is, you will find a peace that is real, enduring, and quietly joyful. Walk gently, breathe deeply, and know that the river of your life carries you exactly where you are meant to go. This is the final step, and yet it is only the beginning of everything. Peace be with you, always.